America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
A federal judge may side with Anthropic in court, calling the company's allegations against the Pentagon troubling at a hearing into the lawsuit challenging the government designating Anthropic as a national security supply chain risk.
The company calls it an unlawful campaign of retaliation for refusing to allow the unrestricted use of its Claude AI model, including the potential development of autonomous weapons or mass surveillance. Claude's already used in military systems, and War Secretary Hegseth says Anthropic must accept all lawful uses of its technology. The supply chain risk designation hinders and in some cases prevents the company's ability to do business with defense contractors. Chris Foster, Fox News.
Separate from Anthropic, the Senate held a hearing into technology and cybersecurity at the Pentagon.
Republican Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota said that the department's digital background is no longer just for support.
It is a weapon system. Our tanks, ships, aircraft, and ground forces depend on connected, resilient, and secure networks.
Lieutenant General Paul Stanton commands the department's cyber defense.
We must get the right data to the right place at the right time such that our commanders make better and faster decisions than our enemies.
Kristen Davies, the War Department's chief information officer, added that digital transformation efforts are now being extended to our allies, while Senator Rounds said technological modernization delays strengthen our enemy's position. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
A loss in court for Meta. A jury in New Mexico decides that the parent company of Facebook and Instagram failed to disclose the risks of those platforms to children, and a judge ordered Meta to pay $375 million. The company is appealing as Meta and Google await a jury verdict in another social media lawsuit in Los Angeles accusing the companies of making their platforms addictive. On Wall Street, as oil prices fall, stock futures rise more than 300 points for the Dow the day after modest selling. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
The price of gold is surging to new highs. It's already topped $5,000 an ounce. The only question is, how much money will you make when gold hits $6,000 an ounce? Investors like you have made small fortunes off the run-up in precious metals, and not just with gold stocks or ETFs. Many have taken advantage of a little-known gold investment officially released by the U.S. government. Now you can too, when you get our free special report from veteran trader and investor Jim Woods. It's called Gold Wealth Boosters. This new report outlines amazing gold investments that have returned 12 to 26 times more than investing in gold bullion itself. Given the uncertainty in world markets, the investments outlined in Jim Woods' Gold Wealth Boosters report are crucial in 2026, and it's free. To get your free Gold Wealth Boosters report, log on to EagleGoldReport.com. EagleGoldReport.com. That's EagleGoldReport.com.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I opened a restaurant and needed everything. Menus, signage, catering brochures.
Everything and then some.
I went to Staples. They printed it all and even suggested takeout menus.
One money pit with a side of fries.
But now at Staples, you get up to $125 off custom print orders.
$125 off. Now you're cooking. Brand your business in a big way at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in store, online, or in the app by 4/4 to unlock. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Ahoy, matey! Is that a new phone?
Aye, Captain. That's my new Samsung Galaxy S25 FE.
You must have paid a pretty doubloon for that.
Nay, 'twas zero down from Cricket Wireless.
So, you plundered it.
Nay, again, 'tis a monthly payment plan with BreadPay.
You're shivering me timbers.
I shiver you not. Me first payment is next month.
Aye, that's not a plunder. That's a steal.
Get a new Samsung Galaxy S25 FE for $0 down when you pay over time with BreadPay. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Subject to approval of credit application. BreadPay loans are made by Comenity Capital Bank and Bread Financial Company.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Larry Elder is impressed.
Destroyed apparently half of Iran's missile capability. Half. Have achieved air superiority. The Iranian naval, bottom of the ocean. Top leader and 40 some odd other top leaders wiped out in one fell swoop. This is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's March 25th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. It's National Medal of Honor Day. Created in 1861, the Medal of Honor is the highest military award for valor, which is presented by the President in the name of the Congress. Since the first Medals of Honor were presented in 1863, more than 3,000 have been given to those serving in the armed forces, including President Teddy Roosevelt for his service during the Spanish-American War. So take a moment to honor those men and women whose courage and valor above and beyond the call of duty earned them such a special recognition as true American heroes. Also on this date, in 1807, Britain abolishes the slave trade throughout the British Empire. And in 1972, the UCLA Bruins men's basketball team won their 6th consecutive national championship, 81-76 over Florida. If it's your birthday today, you share it with the Queen of Soul, singer Aretha Franklin, born in 1942. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Ross Shaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way to have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash your wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Hey, Adolface, what are you doing this weekend?
What's gotten into you?
I heard about this new place. It's called Vito's Vault, a roaring 20s dinner theater speakeasy. One of my buddies went and they had a great time. You gotta have a password to get in, and then you get a delicious dinner and bootleg hooch, a hilarious 90-minute vaudeville-style musical review, and free parking.
You always wanted to be a gangster.
That's right, sweetheart.
Come to Vito's Vault, Chicago's new roaring 20s dinner theater speakeasy. For tickets, go to vitosvault.com.
It's tax season, and by now, I know you're a bit tired of the numbers, but here's an important one you need to hear. $16 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud. Not all grim news. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second for your personal information and alerts you to threats that you could easily miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to fix it. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK, 1-800-LifeLock or lifelock.com. Terms to apply.
I didn't switch to Pure Talk just because I wanted to save 50% off the same 5G service I'd been paying twice as much for. I switched because I like the idea of being in business with a wireless company that supports our veterans in a meaningful way. Pure Talk also creates American jobs every day by keeping their entire operation in this country. I appreciate that. If you feel the same, dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
This is Sean Thompson. One of the things I remember about spring is listening to my grandfather walk around and say, opening day. It's just around the corner. He used to think those were the two sweetest words you could say during springtime because he was a big baseball fan. And for most people, that's the case. It's one of the greatest American traditions each spring. But you know, there's another great American tradition that isn't far off, and that's called Tax Day. Well, opening day and Tax Day show up around the same time each year. We don't look at them in the same way. Well, you're optimistic about your favorite team. When's the last time you felt optimistic about stroking a big check to Uncle Sam? It doesn't have to be that way, and all you have to do is call Tom Fortino, the people at Alpha Wealth Group, who believe that baseball is a seasonal game, but tax planning goes on year-round. So if you don't want to write a big check in your retirement, and you don't want to have your Social Security or Medicare premiums affected by it, call Tom Fortino and the people at Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary retirement roadmap. Call them at 630-864-6711. That number again is 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
Salem Surround. Meet with a digital marketer today for ideas that will make your business stand out. Visit salemsurround.com.
Temperatures are cooling, but not concerns about inflation, market volatility, and taxes. Revisit your financial plan this winter. Best Gen Wealth Partners work with individuals to develop personalized plans that help navigate changing conditions with confidence. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com to learn more.
Advisory services offered through Best Gen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, Midterm, FINRA, and SIPC. Private Client Services and Best Gen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. Best Gen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. If you're a business owner with unfiled tax returns, tax season is not your friend. This is when the IRS turns up the heat. They match 1099s. They review payroll filings. They compare bank deposits. And when returns are missing, they don't send you a warning. They take action. Penalties stack up fast. Liens become public. Bank levies can drain your account. I see it every year. Good business owners who waited too long. Not because they're crooks, but because they were overwhelmed. Let me be clear. Hiding makes it worse. Action makes it fixable. I help business owners get compliant, file what's missing, and negotiate from a position of strength, not fear. Don't wait for the next certified letter. Don't wait for a levy. Go to fightbacknow.com and sign up for my daily email. I'll tell you exactly what to do next, step by step. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. Act now before the IRS acts first.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier.
Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Some moments deserve more than just a space. They deserve a setting that feels special. At Kemper Lakes Golf Club, they make it easy to gather, celebrate, and enjoy time together. From bridal and baby showers to family celebrations and private events, the team handles every detail so you can focus on what matters most. Warm, inviting, and close to home, it's the perfect place to host your next event. Visit KemperLakesGolf.com to learn more and start planning today.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news on the Alex Marlow Podcast.
For so many years, we thought we would see terror. Is it a Muslim? Now we're starting to think, is it a trans person? And we've indulged all of this. It's completely our fault, self-inflicted wound. We've run so hard away from the science and towards insanity. They'll never stop. They will never be done. They will always try to take more. They will always try to create more chaos.
Subscribe to the Alex Marlow Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? The Dragon's Prophecy is powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sunshine and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sun and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So yesterday, on the occasion of Mark Wayne Mullins swearing in as Homeland Security Secretary, President Trump offered some commentary on sanctuary jurisdictions, on the neo-Marxists who lord over them, on the neo-Marxists who lord over Chicago and Illinois, specifically recognizing Sheridan Gorman and her tragic murder late last week.
Related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow of...
Yeah, on Thursday, a precious 18-year-old college student named Sheridan Gorman was shot and killed while she was walking in a park. She was just walking into the park, didn't do anything. The illegal alien monster charged with Sheridan's brutal murder had come illegally from Venezuela and been released into our country by sleepy Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. And I don't say that because I think he's fine. He's okay. I don't like him, dislike him. I talk about job performance. That's all I care about, job performance. Worst president in history. And Obama wasn't far behind, by the way. But he was then arrested and released again by Democrat governor, a real slob of a governor, J.B. Pritzker, in the sanctuary city of Chicago, which we could make safe in 2 months, I would say. 2 months if we sent in the group, Tom, right? 2 months would be good. 3 months, very good. 4 or 5 months, it would be great. But they would never call because they don't want to do that. All they have to do is call and ask for a little help. The Democrats in Congress do not care how much American blood they shed in their demented pursuit of open borders. from Sheridan Gorman to Jocelyn Nungary and Laken Riley. Their quest to flood our country with illegal aliens has left countless American victims in its wake. They never changed. They see what's happening. They never change. That's what they want. They want to get the votes. With sanctuary and sanctuary cities going at levels that they are, and we've ended a lot. We've done a lot. But for some reason, they love it. It's a sanctuary. You know, sanctuary cities are sanctuary for, it's really a sanctuary for criminals. With Secretary Mullen at DHS, we will continue our record-setting efforts to deport these illegal alien criminals from our country.
So the program will proceed as originally conceived and implemented thus far, as it will with the sanctuary politicians like JB and BJ, the two buddies. They both offered additional commentary, compelled, not too aggressively, asked politely. Heaven forbid the Chicago press corps press anybody in public office to get outside of their comfort zone. And so that slob of a governor that President Trump was referring to was queried about Sheridan Gorman's murder a bit more, asked for a little bit more. Give us a little bit more than just the pro forma statement about our thoughts are with the family and its tragedy and so forth. And, of course, he dissembled, which is what Jelly Belly does. He's, I wouldn't say he's very good at dissembling. He's just very consistent with it, and I guess that's good enough for most of the Illinois electorate. Not for me, but they find this particularly persuasive. See what you think.
Well, this has been a terrible tragedy, and I know that the Gorman family has suffered mightily. I agree, there have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. And in my view, we have a lot of work that we need to continue to do. But it is the job of the federal government to go after immigration enforcement, and it is the job of our local and state law enforcement to prosecute or to catch violent criminals and prosecute them. And we should continue to do that both on the state level and the national level.
Well, that sounds eminently reasonable, doesn't it? Does it? 312-642-5600 to give us a call or a text. If anybody was actually listening to what he said, including the press corps, was actually interested in, again, trying to get him outside of his comfort zone, those, Albany mayor-like bromides that he dispenses with regularity. There have been failures outside of the borders. What are the failures inside the borders of Illinois? There have been failures outside the borders of Illinois. What about the failures inside? You reference failures. What are they, and at whose hands have they occurred? No, nothing. And, of course, the job of immigration law enforcement is really the federal government's job. And so that obviously it's a Trump administration failure, the fact that we welcomed people to come to this country illegally. Well, his party did. They opened the borders. And then Illinois welcomed them to locate in Chicago when they got here and came across the borders. And then we provided all these benefits. And then we turned a blind eye for the commission of crimes. And then we release them when they are arrested for committing a crime, like in the Sheridan Gorman case, the alleged killer for shoplifting. And then we don't really have a system in place. I mean, we don't hold anybody, of course, because of the Pritzker Purge law. And then we didn't really have a system in place to track down people when they don't show up for their court appearance after we release them. And so he was a fugitive and an illegal immigrant. Who killed this 18-year-old freshman who was playing by the rules. There's some failures that occur inside the borders, he seemed to intimate, but inside the borders of Illinois. But nobody knows what they are or at whose hands they have occurred. Mm-hmm. As I said, it's great dissembling if you can overcome the nausea of listening to it, which I'm increasingly struggling to do. Chris on the Dan Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Yeah, old fatty there kind of contradicted himself, didn't he? Because he basically contradicted his positioning as ICE and sanctuary city. So I'm not sure how people can even look at that fat boy and say, oh, you're absolutely right, sir. What a sad tragedy. And you're right. He is such a contradicted, bloated piece of poop. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Yeah, well, again, that's sort of saying unreasonable, contradictory things, dissembling, being dishonest, not ascribing, mistakes make themselves, failures occur of their own making, at nobody's hands. Except President Trump's, of course. That's good enough. It's good enough for Illinois. Tony, Downers Grove.
Hey, Dan, just on what the last caller said, the immediate thing was, well, Governor, you're in a sanctuary state, and you're saying that it's the ICE, it's federal agents that are responsible for immigration. But you see, this is the problem again, is he gets away with this, and he's getting exposure, and he kind of exemplifies everything that's going on. This is why the Republicans lose every messaging battle, and they're losing the shutdown battle. They're losing the Safety Act battle. The Republicans are the only ones that can lose an 80-20 battle, and they're going to acquiesce. And maybe Trump was right to not acquiesce, but the Republicans are. And did you see what else Pritzker did there? Then he makes it we blame the Republicans because of not coming up with an immigration reform act. So it circles back so nicely. And Dan, a question for you. Do you have any concern about the two flipped seats in Florida yesterday? I mean, that's, especially in Trump's backyard, is that a concern? Thanks.
Yeah, well, thanks for the culture. I mean, it's a general concern, especially the one, that is his state legislator in Florida, two special elections. Two Republican seats were lost, one was held. Yeah, it's a concern, but it goes to this larger concern that we've been talking about for some time, that there is a parallel that has come into focus, which is that Trump is a parallel with Obama, which is that Trump is very good at getting himself elected and not so good at getting other Republicans elected. Very much like how Barack Obama got elected twice and Democrats lost more than 1,000 legislative seats at the federal and state level during his 8 years. The dangers of cult of personality as your sole motivator. Pritzker on comprehensive immigration reform, right? I mean, but there isn't. This is sort of broken record time, but there isn't the relentless messaging to address the dissembling you get from a J.B. Pritzker that there needs to be, both within the borders of Illinois, if I could borrow a construct, as well as outside the borders. Much better outside the borders of Illinois, non-existent inside the borders of Illinois, and so they get away with it, of course. BLM Brandon, I don't want to leave him out of the conversation. How could we? JB and BJ, they're tandem. This was his approach. Not dissimilar, just less adroit.
We're all grieving the loss of Sheridan and other folks who have lost their lives because of senseless violence. And let's just be very clear, between the Safety Act and the Welcoming City Ordinance, the Welcoming City Ordinance was passed 40 years ago by the first black mayor in the history of Chicago. And the Safety Act was passed under the governor, at that time, who was a Republican, Governor Rauner. Thank you for your question.
So you will not apologize to Sheridan.
Well, I mean, just a point of order, not that these facts are, again, particularly important to most of the electorate in Chicago or Illinois, for that matter. The Safety Act was passed under Rauner. The Safety Act was sponsored by Teachers Union Flax in the city of Chicago and signed into law by Governor Pritzker. I mean, just a point of order on that. I hope nobody embarrasses, nobody else will have the temerity to embarrass BLM Brandon on that point. But to the larger point, I mean, J.B. Pritzker and both of them, J.B. and B.J. and this sort of Pontius Pilate routine, you know, we have law enforcement that are focused on having to deal with the Trump policies, and we enforce state and local, and they enforce federal, and but that's the same J.B. Pritzker who has said that.
One who intends to come take away the freedom and opportunity and dignity of Illinoisans. I would remind you that a happy warrior is still a warrior. You come for my people, you come through me.
Yeah, and of course, the freedom, dignity, opportunity of Illinoisans is just basically saying you come here to enforce immigration law against people who have broken it, and you have to come through him. That's the point. Just a typical veneer, rhetorical veneer that he uses. And again, it's satisfactory to most of the electorate, and so on we go. George, Naperville.
Yes, Dan, it was good to hear our president go after the worst of the worst governors, our own sanctuary slob, Governor Pritzker.
Thanks, George. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan. You're off to a real good start this morning.
I tried.
Let me go a little off to the rails here. The Republicans and the candidates running this midterm need to make this thing a really big issue. But I doubt it will affect the election because the Republicans will sit home. Possibly maybe a few independents will look at the issues. And, of course, the Democrats will always follow the Democratic Party. For your information, maybe you can play some more sound bites, but yesterday I was watching conservative media, and Bailey was on, Ray Lopez was on, one of the ladies from Let's Turn Chicago Red was on. Hopefully they will get more airtime and force the issue on Sheridan Gorman and really bring this to the light of the public. We're just ignoring this issue.
Thanks for the call, Bob. Coming up at 5:38, we'll fold in that matter that Tony in Downers Grove mentioned, which is the DHS shutdown and how ICE is performing in aiding in the TSA effort at airports around the country. That's 5:38. Well, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to release more than $2 billion in federal funding for CTA's Red Line extension and the Red and Purple modernization projects. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson applauded the ruling, saying that the reason the funds were frozen in the first place were vindictive in nature. A former Chicago official is filing a whistleblower lawsuit against the city and her department's leader. Rosalind Grisby was a former top deputy at the city's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. Grisby alleges that her firing on February 27th was retaliation to formal complaints that she filed with the city. DeCase's former first deputy, Kenya Merritt, is a defendant in that case. Mayor Brandon Johnson nominated Merritt to lead the department permanently last week, pending city council approval. This report is sponsored by WeatherBug. Get the fastest local alerts and accurate 24/7 forecasts with WeatherBug. It's easy to use and provides real-time customizable alerts so the weather never takes you by surprise. Plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next.
Mike Gallagher finds it hard to believe.
CNN describes the two terrorists in New York City as two teenagers from Pennsylvania who crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day before they threw a bomb and tried to blow up a bunch of people. It almost becomes impossible to believe.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
The Stephanie Trussell Show speaks to the heart of where you live, work, and raise your family. Every week, Stephanie brings you the conversations that matter most, from our local neighborhoods to the halls of Springfield, covering the local issues and the real solutions. Stephanie sits down with the local leaders, candidates, and everyday heroes who are fighting to make Illinois a place you're proud proud to call home. Stephanie is your community, your voice. The Stephanie Tressel Show, heard Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
What's the password? Is this Vito's Vault, where I can get a 5-star dinner and signature cocktails, see an amazing vaudeville-style musical comedy show with the gangsters and the flappers, all for one low price? Yeah? What's the password? I don't know, but I'm here to make a deposit. Well, why didn't you say so? Come on in.
Vito's Vault, Chicago's new Roaring 20s dinner theater speakeasy. For tickets, go to vitosvault.com. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sun and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sunshine and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We were talking about Sheridan Gorman because the president was talking about her yesterday, and because we have a responsibility to try to hold people in Chicago and Illinois accountable for the consequences of their public policy choices. And I'm not just talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about people in Chicago and Illinois. Held them accountable rhetorically for the purpose of maybe someday, and morally for the purpose of maybe someday seeing somebody get held accountable electorally. Again, what Pritzker said yesterday.
Well, this has been a terrible tragedy, and I know that the Gorman family has suffered mightily. I agree, there have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. And in my view, we have a lot of work that we need to continue to do, but it is the job of the federal government to go after immigration enforcement, and it is the job of our local and state law enforcement to prosecute or to catch violent criminals and prosecute them. And we should continue to do that both on the state level and the national level.
I'll cede more of my time to Joe Abraham, father of Katie Abraham, angel dad. He reacted to what you just heard from Pritzker yesterday. See if this is more compelling to you than, say, what you hear from the representatives of the conservative view on conservative media that Bob from Buffalo Grove referenced on Newsmax or Fox or wherever. When one of them is a Democrat, that tells you something about the quality of conservative representation in Illinois. Ray Lopez I'm talking about. And I like Ray, but, I mean, he's still a Democrat, older human. Joe Abraham, responding to what you just heard from Pritzker. Governor, you cannot blame the federal government for your failures. You've chosen to limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement and advance sanctuary policies, but you haven't put equally strong safeguards in place to protect your own citizens and uphold public safety. You favor illegal immigrants and provide special privileges and considerations which citizens are not entitled to. You cannot have it both ways. You don't get to deflect blame when the consequences surface. If you choose to sideline federal frameworks, the responsibility doesn't disappear. It shifts squarely onto your shoulders. That means owning the outcomes, not pointing fingers when things go wrong. Right now, what's missing isn't just policy clarity, it's accountability. Leadership isn't about ideology, it's about responsibility. If your policies create gaps, you answer for those gaps. If your approach introduces risk, you confront it directly. Silence, deflection, and blame shifting aren't leadership, they're avoidance. So you're either the governor of Illinois or you're not. Leadership means owning the outcomes of your decisions, not shifting responsibility when those decisions are questioned. Either you take responsibility for the system you've built, or you admit it isn't working. But refusing to do either erodes trust and leaves the public without clear answers from the person ultimately in charge. And silence on cases like Katie's only deepens the sense that responsibility is being avoided. Joe Abraham, I mean, not that he wants it, but boy, I'd like to nominate Joe Abraham to be the Illinois State Republican Party chairman. Have you heard anything with that thoughtfulness and clarity from anybody wearing an R label, other than me, of course, in Illinois? I have not. And therein lies the problem. One of the problems. One of the many problems. You know, Tony from Downers Grove talks about we lose these messaging battles. I mean, he's right to some extent. I mean, a lot of the quality of our messaging just isn't very good. And messengers, too. Sometimes the messenger is the message. John Fetterman was bold enough. Ray Lopez is sort of our John Fetterman at the Chicago level. What John Fetterman has become, which is, a reasonable guy. As much as I mocked him as Senator Slingblade, and it was deserved, as much as he shouldn't have won that Senate race over Dr. Oz back when, talk about this perpetual voting saving a candidacy. No better example than John Fetterman, where more than 1 million ballots had been cast before Pennsylvania voters actually saw John Fetterman on a stage with his opponent, where at that time, recovering from a stroke as he was, and that's unfortunate that happened to him. I'm not making light of that, but you either have the capacity for the job or you don't. And I think there would have been a much deeper understanding, a la Biden on a debate stage, that person didn't have the capacity for the job at that time. Now, he's proven in the intervening period to have more capacity for the job than virtually any of his colleagues in Congress within his party. And he struck again yesterday with Bill Hemmer talking about this topic.
This is like, why can't we just talk about that life lost? Why can't we just acknowledge that this is a serious, serious failure? And now it's devastating as a father. So I don't know why anybody, and that's, again, I was the lead as a Democrat for Lake and Riley, because that's why we have to require to protect America from the dangerous elements that shouldn't even be here illegally always. Yeah, I mean, I think only 7 or 8 Democrats even voted for Lake and Riley. Why can't you just agree that if you're breaking the law and you're already here illegally, deport them? I just don't understand. And then tragedies, just what happened to that young woman, they are going to continue to happen. It's just, that's justice. That's beyond common sense. Why can't you just support this? Why is that unreasonable to anybody?
Can you answer that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they're afraid of the base, or people just that is. I'm constantly punished. Well, I think it's the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, John Fetterman is paying a political price for being reasonable on a range of topics. He's right now, I would say, pretty vulnerable to a primary challenge in his reelection. Which I think is 30, right? Yeah. So he's got a while, but he's taking on political water for saying sensible things like that. So, that's something. But of course, we understand, that the confusion about why won't they do this thing? Why won't they give an inch? Because they're not giving an inch. Because it's a neo-Marxist revolutionary party. So they will do exactly what Joe Abraham described Pritzker doing, is deflect, dehumanize, failures happen, mistakes are made, and project. This is all Trump's fault. He fails to, because immigration law enforcement is the federal government's responsibility. So anything in America that happens at the hands of a person, anything bad that happens at the hands of a person in this country illegally is obviously Trump's fault, despite the fact that in calendar year 2025, we saw the most deportations ever recorded in a calendar year. And we understand what his position is. We understand what his posture is. And that makes the projection that much more absurd. But you'll notice it doesn't stop. Well, when you see something that seems completely farcical on its face, but it's not stopping. No one is being shamed for continuing to say things that are completely implausible, that are 180 degrees from the truth. Well, there's got to be a play that's being made there. And there is. And it's working. To some extent. Jim in Northbrook.
Hi, Dan. Blessed Fulton Sheen, who's from Peoria, has a 20-minute YouTube back from the 50s that talked about the false compassion, that people would get raised up, the murderer gets raised up over the murdered, the rapist over the rapist. And as a Republican candidate, I'm out there talking about the moral imperative of stop buying into the Democrat message. Up here, we had the primary, all the ads were F Trump. Nothing else. But do you think people who value life will come out and vote, or go down to Springfield and march for life? They sit and just because we're Republicans, they won't give us the time of day.
And so, you're running for state rep, state legislative office?
House District 17 against Gone Dershowitz.
Yeah. Godspeed with that. And so what do you say when somebody doesn't give you the time of day and they can't just slam a door in your face? What do you say to them? How do you challenge them?
Well, the challenge is the...
No. I didn't say what the challenge is. How do you challenge them?
I bring it back to the point that, as a citizen of the state of Illinois, we have a responsibility, first, to not be a burden on our neighbor. Second, to help our neighbor when they're in need. But most importantly, that when I am in crisis, I have a responsibility to let my neighbor know, not to go to the government and disassociate myself from my neighborhood. We need to bring fellowship and citizenship back into the neighborhood. The big crime that's going on.
Wait. And how is that? Sort of high-minded treatise on civic virtue received? You get why don't you go blank yourself probably in Northbrook or at the Wilmette train station or someplace like that?
Well, in the deep Marxist sections of the district. Yeah.
Which part of that district is not a deep Marxist section?
Well, we're starting to make inroads with the Life community in the parishes. We're starting to make inroads with the conservative Jewish community, the Syrians. We have all these siloed people groups that we're trying to pull together to bring citizenship back into the lexicon.
Thanks for the call, Jim. High-minded appeals to civic virtue, I don't think, are going to win the day. I hate to break it to people. This is not to say that you behave unreasonably and run around shrieking like these intolerable awfuls over everything. But there needs to be a little bit more pointed challenge on a personal level, it seems to me. Substantive, but it needs to be pointed and personal. And I see that a lot, too, particularly in the suburbs. Nobody wants to make it pointed or personal. Because, kids are on the same baseball team. The wives are friends. He's a member at my club. So on and so forth. Rick in LaPorte, Indiana.
Yeah, I'd like to you answer this for me. Since that scumbag that killed that woman in Chicago from Loyola School, he broke the law, federal law, by coming in this country, even though Illinois doesn't have the death penalty. Isn't he entitled to the death penalty? And if you need somebody to pull the trigger or flip the switch, I'm available 24/7.
Okay, good to know that you're on call. Thanks for the call, Rick. Yeah, I mean, potentially at the federal level, if there was a federal prosecution over the top, but no, not in the state of Illinois. He won't be eligible for the death penalty. Cheryl Minter is an angel mom, just like Joe Abraham is an angel dad. Talked about the murder of her daughter a couple weeks ago. Her daughter, Stephanie, in her early 40s, sitting at a bus stop, got stabbed to death for no reason by a illegal immigrant from Sierra Leone. Wait for it. This was in Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia. An illegal alien from Sierra Leone who's been arrested 31 times. Here illegally, arrested 31 times, murders Stephanie Minter for no reason. Here's that story from a network affiliate reporter out that way.
For weeks, you've been reporting on this murder. What recourse does the family have?
Well, right now, Stephanie's family is urging Fairfax County voters to remember Stephanie's story, her murder, the next time Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Descano is on the ballot, which is in 2027, next year. Now, I spoke to Stephanie's family here in Fredericksburg. The family told me that had Descano prosecuted her accused killer and other serious violent crimes, Stephanie would be alive today. 7 News obtained emails that police sent to Descano on 3 separate occasions, warning Descano how dangerous Abdul Jallo was. The police told him they encountered him more than 100 times. And if he was let back out in the community one more time, it wasn't a matter of if, but when he would kill someone. Despite those warnings, Descano's office dropped charge after charge against Jallo, who is a Sierra Leone national in the country illegally. Today, I spoke with former Virginia Attorney General J.C. Miyares, who says this could happen again if there aren't major changes.
My great fear is that because there won't be a change in policy, that you're just going to have more Stephanies. You have a governor that now has said that state law enforcement can't cooperate with federal immigration authorities. And there's legislation making its way through the assembly that would actually ban localities even having the option of cooperating with 287G agreements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to happen again. Same thing Joe Abraham said months ago. Same thing we've said. Everybody says because we understand it. You platform this sort of lawlessness, you're going to get more of it. And that's exactly what happened. And you're going to have more people that are taken out. And that's exactly what's happened. Cheryl Minter is Stephanie's mom. She said this recently.
Change has got to happen with this. It's just got to. I don't know where all these political people are. I mean, they stopped serving citizens. They just stopped. And I'm not quite sure how they get voted in.
Yeah. Not quite sure how they get voted in. They stop serving the citizens. They make no distinction between citizens and non-citizens. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, again, will the U.S. Catholic bishops put out a video on what happened in Loyola, or will they still maintain their position of being compassionate and merciful to immigrants?
Thanks for the call, Glenn. You know, you can, this is an obvious statement, but that needs, there's another thing where it needs to be pointed and personal. You can have empathy for your fellow man. You can be compassionate. You can say, I understand why somebody would want to flee Venezuela to come here for a better life, for example. But you have to do it legally, or I'm not supportive. It's just it. Sorry. There are rules to how society is ordered. And as Tom Homan is wont to say, if you don't like them, you should endeavor to change them. But until then, people who play by the rules need to be the ones shown respect, as opposed to the ones who are treated like pigeons for the benefit of those who do not. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160, Hope for Your Life. AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 6:06, pointed and personal. Today's theme. We'll get a little pointed and personal about both the DHS shutdown as well as the SAVE Act. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
We're negotiating against ourselves. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what an Iranian general says as President Trump keeps trying to work out a deal for a ceasefire to end the U.S.-Iran conflict.
They've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
The U.S. is reportedly pushing a 15-point peace plan, even as thousands more U.S. troops, Army, paratroopers, and Marines head to the region.
Iranian officials are reportedly worried that the United States is buying time before more intense operations, but the president has indicated Vice President J.D. Vance would participate in the talks amid ending the war. U.S. and Israeli strikes have continued over the past 24 hours, putting new pressure on the Iranian regime. And overnight, Iran launched more barrages of ballistic missiles toward Israel. One of the cluster munitions landed in a religious community just outside of Tel Aviv, wounding at least 9 people.
That's Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Oil prices, they are down more than 5% after Iran said it would allow non-hostile ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. The president has threatened to intensify attacks if oil shipping remains blocked. blocked. It may be another frustrating day at airports with more hours-long security lines because TSA agents remain unpaid and more aren't showing up as a standoff over Homeland Security funding in Congress hits day 40. The House will hold a hearing this morning on that and other issues in the funding lapse.
In an opening statement obtained by Reuters, acting TSA Administrator Hal McNeil says TSA agents are sleeping in their cars at airports to save gas money, selling their blood and plasma, and taking on second and third jobs to make ends meet.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. Meta has been ordered to pay up in New Mexico. A jury found the parent company of Facebook and Instagram failed to disclose the safety risks for child users, from mental health to predators. Meta plans to appeal after the judge ordered a $375 million payment. In another social media lawsuit, a jury in Los Angeles keeps deliberating Meta and Google, who are accused of making their platforms addictive. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 38 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The illegal migrant accused of killing a college student in Chicago is stuck in the hospital. Fox's Garrett Tinney has more.
We have learned that the 25-year-old Venezuelan man accused of killing Sheridan Gorman is currently in the hospital with tuberculosis. He was not able to attend his court hearing, and that has been rescheduled for Friday, when the hope is that he will be able to appear virtually. This man has been on police's radar now for years. Jose Medina had a judge issue an arrest warrant for him more than 2.5 years ago after he stole $132 worth of merchandise from a Macy's store in downtown Chicago. He got released on bail and then never showed up to court again.
Police say the suspect is facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder. ICE has lodged a detainer for the suspect. More details have been released concerning a Chicago man accused of setting a north side fire linked to the death of a local firefighter. A Cook County judge ordered Sheaves Slate to be detained pending trial after determining that he was a threat to the community and had a history of setting fires. Slate reportedly dyed his hair and changed his clothes after the blaze. Firefighter Michael Ottman died in last Monday's fire. Flags across the state are being flown at half staff from now through Friday. His funeral is set for later this week. And apparently, delivery robots and CTA bus shelters do not mix well. For the second time this week, one of those robots has crashed into a bus shelter, smashing glass and leaving it scattered across the sidewalk. The robot involved in yesterday's crash was from Coco Robotics. Officials with the company say they're aware of their robot's accident and have launched an investigation as to why this has occurred. News is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Alex Marlowe does see a legit scandal.
I'm kind of amazed by this scandal that has rocked the Department of Homeland Security. Kristi Noem is out. I saw this. I was aware of it, but I have to admit, and this is a big admission, I did not do a deep dive on it. And I have in the last 24 hours, and it is shocking. It is a legitimate scandal.
The Alex Marlowe Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
What are you doing?
I'm setting up the Art of Options sectional.
That's a popular pick at Penny Mustard.
But why is it so long?
I wanted to create the world's longest sectional that wraps around the entire showroom.
Well, the Art of Options is powered by a rechargeable battery, so it can literally go anywhere.
So what are you going to build next?
The world's longest coffee table.
The Art of Options reclining sectional starting at $92.65 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
For years, I've talked about Relief Factor. You've heard stories about the people who finally found real relief after trying the 3-week quick start. I'm one of those stories. My pain had become so bad that I was starting to believe that my best days were behind me. This was like 10 years ago. Relief was not in the picture until I tried Relief Factor. They are always striving to help people get out and stay out of pain. And remarkably, Relief Factor has made their already trusted formula even better. They've added premium black pepper extract because apparently that helps your body absorb the high-quality key ingredients more efficiently. So in simple terms, it helps your body get even more benefit from what you're already taking. And that matters. If you're going to take something daily, you want your body actually using as much of it as possible. So if you've been listening to me talk about Relief Factor for a while, this is your moment. Or if you're already taking it, you're now going to get the enhanced formula designed to work even smarter. Start with a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95 at relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. How will it feel to be out of pain? Relieffactor.com.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago immune support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Taking a look at the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Starting the day off with a stall. It's on the southbound Tri-State at Archer Avenue, and the right lane is blocked. We are doing great on the Edens this morning, just 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is 17 inbound from O'Hare to the Bird Interchange. Outbound is 22. You've got 13 minutes in both directions on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 26 minutes inbound on the Stevenson, 22 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, and just 13 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Bird Interchange. Outbound is 11. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sun and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sunshine and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560 The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. A favorite X account is at Immigrant Crimes. I've mentioned it before. Whoever operates that X account does a nice bi-weekly roundup of the crimes committed by people in this country illegally in the previous 2 weeks. Just a rundown. It's not necessarily all-inclusive, but it gives you a sense of scale. It's very useful to share with the blithely ignorant within your circles of contact. When you hear the talking point from the central office repeated to you that most people in this country illegally or otherwise law-abiding, or that illegal immigrants commit other crimes at lower rates than Americans. These are both purposefully misleading, irrelevant arguments. Because, as I want to say, a small percentage of a big number can be a big problem. And it is a big problem. The last 2 weeks. Chicago, Illinois, illegal alien arrested for college students' murder. I think we're all familiar with that. St. John Parish, Louisiana, man on detainer arrested for women's DUI death. Miami-Dade County, Florida, man on detainer arrested for 9-year-old sexual assault of a 9-year-old. Salt Lake County, Utah, likely illegal alien arrested for attempted murder. Miami-Dade County, Florida, man on detainer arrested for impregnating teen. That sounds like statutory rape. Bergen County, New Jersey, man on detainer arrested for attempted murder. Davidson County, Tennessee, man on detainer arrested for attempted murder. Harris County, Texas, illegal alien arrested for hit and run death of a deputy sheriff. Claremont County, Ohio, illegal alien arrested for sex assault of 3 siblings. Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, man on detainer arrested and released after murder charge. Culpeper County, Virginia, illegal alien arrested for soliciting sexual material. Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, woman on detainer arrested for murder. Davidson County, Tennessee, man on detainer arrested for attempted murder. Marion County, Indiana, illegal alien trucker arrested for crash. Mobile County, Alabama, illegal alien now charged with murder after bodies found. Fairfax County, Virginia, adult illegal alien arrested for groping in school. Talked about that. That went on for much more than a dozen women, young girls complained, high school girls complained, until finally somebody did something. Where are the boys in that school? Good question. They're the product of an awful and a male impersonator, to be sure. DeSoto County, Florida, 2 illegal aliens arrested for a machete attack. Summit County, Utah, illegal alien arrested for sexual assault of a 14-year-old. New Hanover County, North Carolina, illegal alien arrested after shooting. New York City, illegal alien arrested for pushing 2 people on subway tracks. That's every other day occurrence there. Escambia County, Florida, illegal alien arrested for death of a 3-year-old. Warren County, Kentucky, 4 illegal aliens arrested for murder. Hall County, Georgia, illegal alien accused of trafficking a minor from Tennessee. Shelby County, Tennessee, women on detainer accused of murder. Pasco County, Florida, illegal alien arrested for DUI crash. So, in response to the volume of violent crime, the victims, and the trauma that is being inflicted, we're ready to get a little bit more pointed and personal. I don't, frankly, know how Joe Abraham, friend of the show, and Angel Dad we were speaking about before in terms of his response to what Pritzker had to say yesterday. I honestly don't know how he maintains his decorum in the face of this. I'm sort of, desensitized from politics because I've been in the soup for so long. So it takes a lot to shock me because I have such a low opinion. It's an informed opinion, which is why it's so low, of politicians. And the courage quotient among almost all of them. Remember, they're always at the back of the parade. Different parades, but most of them are at the back of it, waiting to see which direction it's marching, and then they fall in line and pretend they're leading it. Pointed and personal sounds like Logan Federico's dad. This is a clip I play every so often in the wake of what's happened over the last several days, dating back to Thursday with Sheridan Gorman's murder. It seems appropriate. When I say you have to be willing to be pointed and make it personal with people. I'm not, this is not an advocacy for violence, of course. At this point, I think my record is pretty clear. I don't really feel the need to state it, but before somebody purposely misinterprets it to sidetrack the conversation, no. Just like Logan's dad, who wasn't violent at a congressional hearing, but he was pointed and personal. He was willing to be pointed and personal with some dingbat congresswoman from North Carolina who confused his daughter with Laken Riley. Willing to be pointed and personal in his takedown of open borders politicians all over the country. He just used the setting of a congressional hearing and those that fit that description who were present that day as a proxy to send a message around the country, and it reverberated. And it seems like the least that people could do is throw in with Logan Federico's dad and Katie Abraham's dad and Sheridan Gorman's family. Seems like the least we could do is that.
How many of y'all have kids? I'm just curious. Here's what I need you to do. When I tell you this story, think about your kids. Think about your child coming home from a night out with their friends, laying down, going to sleep, feeling somebody come in the room and wake them, and drag her out of bed, naked, forced on her knees, with her hands over her head, begging for her life, begging for her hero, her father, me, that couldn't be there. She was 5'3". She weighed 115 pounds. Bang! Dead. Gone. Why? Because Alexander Devontae Dickey, who was arrested 39 goddamn times, 25 felonies, was on the street. How about that? How good are we doing for our family? How good are you doing for your kids? He should have been in jail for over 140 years for all the crimes he committed. You know how much time he spent in prison? A little over 600 days in 10 years. He's only 30 years old. He was committing 2.65 crimes a year since he was 15 years old. But nobody could figure out that he couldn't be rehabilitated. Well, you'd have to put him in prison to see if he could be rehabilitated. Isn't that the idea of prison? But no, my daughter wanted to be a teacher. She finally figured it out 2 weeks before she was executed.
Do you feel that? 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Hey, let's go Lucky Charters in Wheeling. Another illegal here. A bus load of seniors crashed in Green Bay, Wisconsin. No insurance on the bus or nothing. How does he get a license here?
Right. Like, how does he get a license here? How do the 200,000 people who've had their CDL licenses pulled by the Department of Transportation get their licenses? How do the 1 in 5 non-resident CDL license holders, CDL license holders from Illinois get their licenses per the Department of Transportation study in Illinois that we talked about a couple weeks back? Mm-hmm. Those are questions we need to stop asking ourselves, since here we all know the answers, and start pushing those questions out to places where they will be unwelcome and it will create uncomfortable moments. Fold in a DHS shutdown. ICE deployed to airports around the country. So how's that going? Because, you know, ICE is the modern-day slave patrol. ICE is jackbooted thugs. ICE is kidnapping people and disappearing them. So, the airports would be real fertile territory for them. They could kidnap all sorts of people in groups and disappear them. because that's what they do. That's what we're told by that same party, that same open borders, non-prosecution, decarceration, defund the police, abolish ICE party. So is that what's happening? Network affiliate in Phoenix reporting from Sky Harbor Airport.
When you see ICE agents, being deployed, what goes through your mind?
I like it. I mean, I think Trump's doing a hell of a job. I like it.
Most of the travelers we spoke with say, while it's disappointing the current shutdown is having a negative impact on TSA staff, they're pleased to see ICE agents stepping in.
They're protecting us. Yeah, they're doing a good job.
Network affiliate in Cleveland.
I have no problem with that at all. I mean, if they're there to help, that's fine. Because you obviously need more people.
Cleveland is one of more than 10 U.S. airports where the Trump administration has deployed agents to help amid a shortage of TSA workers.
Even CNN reporting from Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta had to concede the picture behind the reporter, which is wait lines, lines for screening that had all but disappeared after TSA was deployed and personnel resources could be shifted accordingly.
You can see this is the main checkpoint. Almost no lines, no waiting, Sarah. And it's unbelievable at this point. This morning started briskly with a lot of people showing up here at the airport. Lines were long. People were waiting about an hour. But when that rush hour went away pretty quickly this morning, we ended up with this. And there seems to be more lines open than normal right now with the TSA workers here breezing people through. In fact, a lot of folks have been showing up shocked at how short the lines are. Take a listen to some of the folks we talked to this morning.
I don't see how extra security could be bad, I mean, they're going to help out and, make things move a little faster. But whether they're doing that or not, we don't know. But extra security is always good to me.
So there's, Americans from across the country that have some common sense. It's just like, whatever, they're pragmatic, want solutions, whatever improves the situation, great. They're not ideologues. They don't want to abolish ICE. They don't want open borders. But I'm sure many of them, including, I know the woman in Cleveland is identified as a Democrat. Many of them are voting for the party that does want all of those things, as I just mentioned. Because in my view, we haven't been pointed or personal enough on all of these issues. Of course, back in Chicago, the one place you can always rely on, whatever is sensible, if you want the alternative viewpoint, what the consensus believes is sensible, if you want the minority opinion, the alternative viewpoint, you can always count on Chicago. The city that suffers from the most virulent strain of Stockholm syndrome in the Western world. Meet Jack Mortel from Evanston on his way back from where I think he was in Canada. Cleared customs on the other side, had to show his passport again when he got to O'Hare. A little bit perturbed about that. And wait for it.
Now, a little earlier tonight here in the terminal, we ran into this couple that were returning from their regular trip to visit family in Vancouver, Canada, and they were stunned to have to present their passports upon touching down in Chicago, even though they had pre-cleared U.S. Customs in Vancouver.
We'd already cleared. I mean, it frosted me. We'd already put our passports away.
Did anybody object to that?
Do you dare? You see them beating people? Yeah, I wouldn't dare say a word to those people. At the risk of getting beaten. I've seen it happen in Evanston.
Anybody want to get pointed and personal with Jack Mortel in Evanston? I didn't want to say anything to ICE officer because they would have beat me at O'Hare. This is what you're dealing with. So how do you deal with it? With appeals to civic virtue and the component parts of being a good citizen? Is that what you think? With these self-righteous douchebags like Jack Mortel? Have you seen that working? Just walk away, roll your eyes when you see Jack Mortel at your block party or at the Starbucks in downtown Evanston. Mark in Oak Lawn.
Hey, Dan. Great show. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, question. Why, you talked about that gal that was shot, and the criminal, the murderer, had 30 not convictions, but against him, and the prosecuting attorney just let the person out, and then eventually there was a murder. Why can't the family sue the prosecuting attorney or the state for not doing their job? I mean,
yeah. Thanks for the call, Mark. Because there's sovereign immunity, and there's prosecutorial discretion. I've sort of look. I want people to be held accountable in whatever accountability the law provides, and you want to talk about. There are complications with reducing immunities that public officials enjoy. We're conservatives. Most of us, I am, and I think most people listening probably are. And we always we think what trial lawyers are going to solve our problems for us. What we need to do is more civil litigation. Really? Don't you live in Chicago? Cook County? Routinely one of the tort reform associations leading judicial hellholes. Of course it is. The trial lawyers that are a funding arm of this neo-Marxist Revolutionary Party? Hey, I got some advice for you, a family who's been victimized. Try to spend your money to try to tilt at a windmill in the civil justice system and sue Kim Fox or that non-prosecution prosecutor in Fairfax County or, whatever, Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. Go on and on. How about this? How about we should organize and put some focus on getting law and order state's attorneys and county attorneys, district attorneys. Like up in Lake County where you have Reinhardt, honky Kim Fox. And the Lake County Republican Party and the Republican Party generally can't seem to do anything about him. How about that? How about we organize to win elections? Hey, you should go sue them. What should you do? Be a pundit and sort of offer advice to those who have been brutalized by the system. It's terrible what happened to you. Here's what you should go do. Here's what I'm going to do for you. How about that approach? Text from 708. Google Jack Martel, president of the Evanston Firefighters Pension Board. I don't know if that's true. Probably is true. Probably is true. Firefighters, first responders. Back our first responders. Jack Martel is the president of the Firefighters Pension Board in Evanston, if that's true. Nobody can track down Jack Martel, make an example of him after he just embarrassed himself on ABC 7 with his smarmy, incendiary comment about ICE. These venal little people that you allow to lord over you without consequence. We don't hold ourselves accountable, but we're going to hold our politicians accountable? When have you ever seen that happen? Check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 44 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Aurora City Council has voted to place the strictest regulations on new data centers. The problem is the ordinance only applies to new data centers, which is something that the residents are not happy about. The new regulations call for data centers to perform studies on sound emissions as well as water and energy use before development begins. Well, for some residents, the regulations do nothing to ease their concerns, as they say they're blasted with the constant sound of the generators nearby their homes. A high-profile member of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration is stepping down. Human Relations Commissioner Nancy Andrade is resigning. She said she resigned to uphold the commission's effort to give hope to those who have experienced the humiliation and trauma of discrimination. Her resignation comes after Johnson fired his deputy for public safety last week. And Frank Thomas is suing his former team. The Big Hurt filing a lawsuit this week in Cook County Court accusing the White Sox and sports apparel companies of profiting from selling items using his name and likeness without his permission. He's seeking more than $50,000 in damages. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings wonders if we'll see support.
Iran has fired ballistic missiles into a German military base in Jordan. So Iran continues to fire at its neighbors. You know, something I've been wondering, are we having any expectation that other countries are going to eventually get fed up with this and join in the military attacks against Iran?
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
A couple of young kids. I was 21, Ben was 19. Why don't we start our own business? We can do this furniture thing.
Ben and Arvid Huth, brothers and owners of Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Being brothers, you knew each other very, very well, you know.
I think I was scared to do it myself, too. There's something about having somebody with you,
sure,
having somebody there.
And in hindsight, it's probably been a good thing because we see things from different perspectives.
Yes.
Right?
And have different skill sets.
We fight over how things should be done because we see things from different directions, you know.
But we also know that both people have the best interest of Penny Mustard at heart.
Yeah. I said fight, it's a friendly fight. I mean, you know.
Well, sometimes.
We get along real good.
You're better at keeping it friendly than I am. Sometimes I get a little too passionate.
Well, it is.
I call it that.
Passion's good, though.
Passion's a kind word.
Right.
See more at pennymustard.com.
And, of course, you knew you could trust me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I knew I could trust Arvid.
Turned out to be a good fit.
Yep.
If you're an experienced homeowner who's outlived your assets or your spouse recently passed away, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local reverse mortgage lender. Alice, 90, widow, income $24,000 a year, living in a $500,000 home with no mortgage. Alice's husband recently passed away and she was terrified about losing her home, so her daughter called for information about a reverse mortgage. We helped Alice secure a reverse mortgage, which allowed her to access $300,000 tax-free dollars so she could afford in-home health care. Let's review. Alice's husband recently passed away. She outlived her assets and thought she had to sell her home. Our reverse mortgage expert, Jose Rodriguez, helped Alice secure a reverse mortgage so she could afford in-home health care and peacefully age in place. Team Hochberg's helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit that website you know and love, 56david.com. Atlantic Coast Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 643114.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
What's happening in Metro right now?
Whoa, your low talking reminds me of way too low pricing at Hassleus Mattress.
Are they really low?
How low? Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $293.
We have no employees?
If you're inquiring about a free box spring with the purchase of any Sealy Posturepedic or Beautyrest mattress, employee-free showrooms, and free next-day delivery, the answer is yes.
Holy cow!
Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselist.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 in, 13 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. 18 in on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 22. On the southbound side of the Tri-State, watch out for a stall right after Archer Avenue. The right lane is blocked. And on the northbound side, you're hitting the brakes between the Reagan Memorial and the Ike. 16 in, 14 out on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. There is a stall on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive just after the Stevenson. On the Stevenson, it's 30 in, 22 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. You've got an accident on the exit ramp in the local lanes of the Dan Ryan inbound right at 43rd Street. So 18 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. This report is sponsored by WeatherBug. Get the fastest local alerts and accurate 24/7 forecasts with WeatherBug. It's easy to use and provides real-time customizable alerts so the weather never takes you by surprise. Plan every day with confidence. Download the free WeatherBug app from the App Store now. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sunshine and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sun and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So the Iranians, according to the Wall Street Journal, as part of the negotiations that they have now acknowledged are actually occurring, they wanted the following demands to end the war. This is the Iranians. The closure of all American bases in the Gulf, reparations for attacks on Iran, a new order for the Strait of Hormuz that would allow Iran to collect fees from ships that transit the waterway, guarantees the war wouldn't restart, stopping Israel's strikes against its terrorist proxy groups, lifting all sanctions on Iran, permitting Iran to keep its missile program with no negotiations to limit it. Yeah, okay. So you don't want to seriously engage then? Is that what we're getting here? Is that the message being sent? Obviously, that's silly. But despite the, I guess, pro forma hardline position, a party trying to project strength that it clearly doesn't possess, there was some apparent movement in the form of some fig leaf that the Iranians presented to Trump. He mentioned it yesterday.
They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related, and it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone. Khomeini, all gone, as the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum racked up pretty good, and everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone. But we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out. And the president, the gift they made to us was very significant. And they said they were going to do it, and it happened. And they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the Strait of Hormuz and the flow of...
Yeah, it was related to the flow and to the Strait, yeah, it was.
Are you negotiating on who's going to control this?
Well, despite that gift and their generous list of demands, said tongue-in-cheek, the deployment and arrival of U.S. forces is apparently moving forward as planned. 2,500 Marines, 2,000 sailors, 3,000 paratroopers, 3 amphibious ships. Defense officials allegedly telling the New York Times senior military leaders are considering deploying a brigade combat team from the Army's 82nd Airborne. This is, of course, an elite group that is capable of deploying anywhere in the world, and Jerusalem Post is reporting that deployment is moving forward, despite these talks that supposedly involve the president himself, as well as Vance and Rubio and Kushner and Witkoff. For more on where things stand, trying to parse all of this, pleased to be joined by Jonathan Schanzer, who is the executive director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So the gift and the prospect for any real progress towards a cessation of hostilities.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know exactly what's going on here. I think the president is doing what the president always does, which is to maintain maximum flexibility. And what I mean by that is he's got the military going while he's got direct talks with possible pragmatists within the regime, and he's dealing directly with the regime. He's dealing indirectly with the regime through Pakistan. In other words, there's a lot of balls in the air here. What I see right now still is that America has leverage. Iran is weak, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of this with dignity.
So if they're not talking to the gay cardboard Ayatollah, is this guy that's being discussed now, Mohammed Bagher Ghalibaf, who is a former IRGC commander and mayor of Tehran, a wannabe strongman, rises in Iran, reports the Wall Street Journal. Is that the guy who's in charge now, or do we know?
Well, I think it's hard to know exactly who's in charge because there have been so many of these leaders that have been
taken
cut
out.
Down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so what we have right now is a guy that kind of raised his hand as saying, hey, I might be the guy that can figure out a pragmatic solution with you, United States. I'm still part of the regime. I'm still part of that radical faction, but I don't want this war to continue any longer. And if that is our answer, that's not a bad thing. That may be our Delcy Rodriguez, obviously a reference to what happened in Venezuela.
And these reported deployments, the 82nd Airborne, what are we to interpret from that?
Look, we need to liberate the Strait of Hormuz. And it's going to happen whether by military force or through some kind of clever diplomatic agreement or something else. But there's no way that Donald Trump allows oil to remain this high, natural gas to remain this high, a lot of kind of wobbly knees there in the stock market. These are things that the president doesn't want. And so, again, he's given himself lots of flexibility here. He'd like to do this without having to escalate the war. But if he has to, I think he will. And that is the show of force here. This is peace through superior firepower. He is showing the regime that there will be a lot more pain. And believe me, they have already suffered something like 10,000 strikes over the last 3 weeks. They don't want any more of this, and they certainly don't want to lose their energy assets. So the president still has a lot of leverage here. Look, I don't want to tell you that I understand his strategy. I don't think anybody does. I think the only thing we can say with certainty here is that he has a lot of options. He's given himself those options.
The state of the IRGC, since I brought it up with this new player that's emerged, a couple of things. One is we had the conversation with Jonathan Tobin from AEI last week, and he talked about, and he's spent a lot of time in the region. He has a pretty good working understanding of all the moving parts here. One of the things he suggests that I haven't heard really anybody else talk about is there's basically like 31 munitions depots that the IRGC rely on to maintain dominion over the citizenry. And the prospect that you could have special forces operation to seize control of those munitions depots if we don't destroy them from on high. And that would help to provide the conditions on the ground with everything else going on that you were just describing for a popular revolt to occur if it is indeed going to occur. So that's one piece of it. And then the other piece is this post by Zeneb Raboa, who's a scholar at the Hudson Institute. She had a very good piece a couple of weeks back in the Free Press about all of this, Iranian business being really part of the larger China strategy. Anyway, she writes this: the IRGC has no idea what's going on. Their whole chain of command has been compromised and now actively being destroyed. They have no idea what to do or say. Even their actions have been sporadic and managed to have the whole Gulf against them now. And basically, they may be buying their own propaganda that they're winning, and they can continue with this puffery. But in terms of the reality of their behavior on the ground, there is chaos, which seems plausible. But so I'm just talking about those things because to the extent that there is going to be regime change as part of what is required to end this and have the Iranians concede that it's ended, the status of the IRGC and the prospect of popular revolt are two key components.
They are. And I think, look, the strategy of taking out those munitions or some of the bases from which it's actually called the besieged, that's the domestic repression forces. They're part of the IRGC effectively. They probably need to be taken out. But I think that actually may be where the U.S. and Israel may diverge. Donald Trump has been really careful not to talk about regime change. He's talking about, ending the war on the right terms, having a weakened Islamic Republic, not having nukes, not having missiles, not having proxies. The Israelis want the entire regime gone, and I suspect the Gulf wants the entire regime gone now, too. Nobody wants this regime after seeing what it's done. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what the Israelis do, even if we, decide that we're going to quit the region after liberating the Strait of Hormuz. There could be additional operations without us. And I think Trump would be fine with that, right? He gets to kind of say, look, I achieved my objectives. And the Israelis say, well, actually, we're going to keep going.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's said intermittently over the last several days that we won this war. And regime change has already occurred because Khamenei is gone, and Gay Cardboard Khamenei Jr. is nowhere to be found, apparently. And you're here, and then, as I mentioned, you hear like this guy Galabaf now is maybe the guy they're actually talking to. So since we're not talking to the members of the old regime, we already have regime change, and obviously with air supremacy and their Navy destroyed and their capacity to retaliate, to launch retaliatory strikes, bordering on de minimis at this point, what more is there to do kind of thing. But the problem he would have, it seems to me, is if you don't have a regime or a new leadership that you think you can work with, then you're on the hamster wheel again. And if Iran would get obstreperous within the region after America leaves, then that's egg on the administration's face.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think Donald Trump is weighing, and he's keeping that flexibility because he's not yet decided what he wants to do. I think if he wanted to stay in the fight with the Israelis, and knock out the regime, he could probably do it. It probably would require some forces on the ground, which I think many Americans are going to be loath to see. You got that kind of isolationist wing of the MAGA movement that says, we're not doing this anymore. We're not putting boots on the ground. We're not threatening American lives, and we're not going to waste American money for some other country to liberate them. But I think you're right in the sense that this is the American interest. If we don't want to just feel like we're mowing the lawn every couple of years, with the Islamic Republic, we're going to need to change the Islamic Republic and put something else in its place.
Jonathan Schanzer is the executive director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, business owners, is your business and money in good hands? Does your bank invest in your success? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that when you need a relationship bank, Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. I love these guys. Not only do they have expansive industry experience, a strong financial track record, but they're also highly capitalized for strategic growth. That's so important. That's why Signature Bank is my bank. They know what it means to grow a business by designing solutions that are right for you and only you. These are real people. They're ready to help. So reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Make the call today, 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Go online, signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, Signature Bank.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
For years, I've talked about Relief Factor. You've heard stories about the people who finally found real relief after trying the 3-week quick start. I'm one of those stories. My pain had become so bad that I was starting to believe that my best days were behind me. This was like 10 years ago. Relief was not in the picture until I tried Relief Factor. They are always striving to help people get out and stay out of pain. And remarkably, Relief Factor has made their already trusted formula even better. They've added premium black pepper extract because apparently that helps your body absorb the high-quality key ingredients more efficiently. So in simple terms, it helps your body get even more benefit from what you're already taking. And that matters. If you're going to take something daily, you want your body actually using as much of it as possible. So if you've been listening to me talk about Relief Factor for a while, this is your moment. Or if you're already taking it, you're now going to get the enhanced formula designed to work even smarter. Start with a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95 at relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. How will it feel to be out of pain? Relieffactor.com.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed. She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home.
residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft, I know, and we talked about it a bit earlier in the program, the neo-Marxists are beating their chests about a couple of special elections in Florida for state legislative offices, including in the district in which Mar-a-Lago is located, where Democrats won. They won 2 seats that Trump won that were previously held by Republicans. And so these are, of course, being treated as canaries in the coal mine for the midterms. Perhaps, I mean, this is not to dismiss that as a concern. It is a concern, should be seen as a concern. Let's also remember, with respect to the midterms, 20 of the last 22 times the party out of power has gained seats. And with a narrow margin, obviously, the neo-Marxists are a heavy favorite to win the House. I think the Senate is a completely different animal, but they're a heavy favorite. And so now you start talking about, are there possibilities to flip the script? Are there possibilities to beat the odds, to minimize the losses, to ensure at least control of the Senate and so forth? You have to think politically and pragmatically. But there's something else, too. There's a couple other canaries in the coal mine that people aren't taking notice of that they should. One is the conservative anti-Islamic migration party in Germany surged in West Germany state elections. 11-point game, the AfD nearly doubling its seats from just a few years ago. That's number one. Also, despite what she thought, a Danish Prime Minister, Frederiksen, called for elections after standing up to, quote unquote, standing up to Trump over Greenland. She was trying to, ride the wave of good feeling by standing up to Trump. And it didn't happen. Her leftist bloc fell short of winning enough votes to form a government, which sets the stage for coalition talks over the coming weeks. And as in West Germany, it was a conservative anti-Islamic migration party, the People's Party in Denmark, that more than tripled its vote share and the number of seats it controls. So there's a lot of variables here, from the campaign in Iran to the economy, and to some extent those are linked, certainly in the short term, and where things stand 7 months from now. But there are some real vulnerabilities on the other side. There are policies that are just wildly unpopular, and positions they continue to take even as they try to soft pedal their actual open borders, non-prosecution, decarceration, defund police, abolish ICE postures. And you hang those around the neck of those neo-Marxist revolutionaries, and you'll certainly dull the blade. Long way to go. Coming up at 7:07, we'll talk to Tucker Carlson's biographer, our friend Chadwick Moore, at 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
They're selling their blood and plasma, taking second and third jobs. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the TSA's acting administrator, Ha McNeil, plans to tell lawmakers at a House hearing this morning as TSA agents keep working without pay. Some are sleeping in their cars at airports to save gas money, she says. Some also aren't showing up, so there may be hours-long security lines at airports again today.
We demand that the Congress and this administration sit down like adults
and resolve this matter.
That's Government Employees Union VP Mac Johnson, but the standoff continues with Homeland Security mostly unfunded a 40th day, with Democratic Senate Leader Chuck Schumer rejecting the latest Republican offer, still demanding changes to immigration enforcement.
We have to rein in ICE and stop the violence. We need reform.
The reform Democrats really want are ICE officers taking their masks off during immigration raids, and they also want ICE to always have judicial warrants during immigration raids. Republicans have countered by saying they would be most comfortable with ICE officers wearing body cams and having their IDs more visible. There was a lot of back and forth like this, but now Republicans say that Democrats keep moving the goalposts.
Fox's Peter Doocy at the White House. President Trump insists Iran wants to make a deal, and there's a reported 15-point U.S. peace plan, though an Iranian general dismisses negotiations as Iran keeps launching missiles into Israel, and more U.S. troops are going to the region.
The commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, Major General Brandon Tegmeyer, has been ordered here to the Middle East. Our understanding is to assess whether the entire elite 82nd Airborne Division will be sent here for possible operations. It could mean thousands of additional U.S. troops here in the Middle East, in addition to Marines already on their way.
That's Fox's Matt Finn in Dubai. Oil prices falling 5% as Iran offers to let more ships through the Strait of Hormuz. At the gas pump, another penny rise. AAA's price for regular is $1 more than it was before the conflict started. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 43 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. ICE has been deployed at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport to help unpaid TSA agents. Fox 32's Joni Love has more.
75 ICE agents are assigned to do security throughout O'Hare Airport, according to Mayor Brandon Johnson. But in Phoenix, it appeared they were doing the jobs of TSA agents.
They were helping put suitcases in the bins and actually at the TSA lines.
ICE agents were sent to support TSA staff at 11 airports, including O'Hare, but not Midway. TSA agents have been calling out sick, leaving staff unable to handle the number of people traveling for spring break. Passengers say airports were in chaos. They stood in lines for up to 4 hours. Under the Department of Homeland Security, TSA agents have been working without pay for more than a month due to the partial government shutdown. But ICE agents are being paid.
President Trump says he's also considering deploying the National Guard until Congress can agree on a proposal to fund Homeland Security. 2 people are in custody after a man was killed in a shooting on Chicago's near West Side. Police say the victim was shot and killed yesterday by 2 armed men in the 2100 block of West Madison Street. The man died at an area hospital. In a separate incident, 2 men were killed late last night in a shooting in the Chatham neighborhood. Police say the pair were outside when they were approached by 5 suspects. Following an encounter, shots were fired, killing the 2 men. The suspects fled the scene and the investigation is continuing. And 2 people are in fair condition after being stabbed on the CTA Red Line train. Police say the incident happened around 1:30 this morning. According to reports, the pair were approached by a man who stabbed them in the neck after a verbal altercation. There are no suspects in custody at this time. This report is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder explains the reason we're here.
The reason we're here is because we have an enemy that has been chanting death to America for 47 years. The enemy determined by their own admission to develop a nuke. They admitted they had enough to build 10 bombs. Is there any confidence that you have that had these people had a nuclear weapon, that they would not use it?
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
For years, I've talked about Relief Factor. You've heard stories about the people who finally found real relief after trying the 3-week quick start. I'm one of those stories. My pain had become so bad that I was starting to believe that my best days were behind me. This was like 10 years ago. Relief was not in the picture until I tried Relief Factor. They are always striving to help people get out and stay out of pain. And remarkably, Relief Factor has made their already trusted formula even better. They've added premium black pepper extract because apparently that helps your body absorb the high-quality key ingredients more efficiently. So in simple terms, it helps your body get even more benefit from what you're already taking, and that matters. If you're going to take something daily, you want your body actually using as much of it as possible. So if you've been listening to me talk about Relief Factor for a while, this is your moment. Or if you're already taking it, you're now going to get the enhanced formula designed to work even smarter. Start with a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95 at relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. How will it feel to be out of pain? Relieffactor.com.
Remember when the metals in Milan were breaking and falling apart?
Yeah.
Next time, Penny Mustard should make the metals. After all, look at the Sherwood bedroom. American made from solid wood.
With drawer bottoms strong enough to stand on.
And our exclusive Forever Tight bed brackets.
Built to last for generations.
That's why we should make the metals.
But metals are gold, silver, and bronze.
Not anymore. Ours will be cherry, oak, and maple.
The Sherwood Bedroom Collection, starting at $64.45 at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, heartbroken, overwhelmed, staring at costs and a list of decisions. I prayed for strength and reached out to Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, only to hear that Mom had already pre-planned everything so my siblings and I would be protected. Because she planned ahead, we weren't pulled apart by heartbreaking decisions.
Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5407 to schedule a free consultation.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. 15 both ways on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. You've got 25 in, 28 out on the Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange. Stop and go on the express lanes inbound between North Avenue and Ohio Street. The Ike is 27 minutes in, 20 out from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Watch out for a stall on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive, taking out the left lane right after the Stevenson. You also have a crash on the Stevenson. It's inbound right at Pulaski Road. So we're looking at 38 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 25, 20 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound looks good at 11. News traffic is the service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark. American Beam and Steel. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sunshine and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sun and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Utah Senator Mike Lee, who is the lead sponsor of the Save America Act in the Senate, went full Dr. Seuss over the weekend.
And I know the presiding officer won't stop either. We're going to stay on this legislation. We will continue to debate. We will debate in the rain, on a train, in a box with a fox, anywhere, everywhere. We will debate this thing. We will make them speak until they are tired. We will make them speak until every one of their arguments, frivolous or legitimate, have yet to hear any of the latter, but, you know, it could happen, until they have all been exhausted. And then we will win. And at some point, we will move away from the frivolity At some point, we will stop making arguments rooted in science fiction, paranoid fantasy, and move on to what the bill actually says. That's what happens when we're exhausted. That's what happens when people have to actually stand and speak and articulate their concerns with the bill. Sooner or later, you start being able to separate fact from fiction, from paranoid fantasy.
Well, there's a good example of that, too. I mean, you know you're winning if you're getting Mazie Hirono, that ill-equipped senator from Hawaii, to speak. She offered a good example of the frivolous arguments that are being offered by the neo-Marxist party.
Non-citizen voting in federal elections is already illegal. Mm-hmm. It is a federal crime. If a non-citizen illegally votes in a federal election, they could be prosecuted and even sentenced up to 5 years in prison. Who is going to commit this kind of fraud knowing that they could be in prison for 5 years?
To which Mike Lee responded.
They've instead said we don't need the Save America Act because, and this one is a kicker, because it's already against the law. That, Mr. President, under these circumstances is analogous to saying we don't need a law allowing police to issue citations and monitor traffic at intersections governed by a stop sign because it's already against the law in our state to run a stop sign. And even though police officers under the status quo are prohibited from monitoring intersections and taking note of when someone runs a stop sign, we know that people don't run stop signs because it's against the law. That is directly, closely, tightly analogous to what they're saying here. We don't need a law making our laws prohibiting non-citizen voting because it's already against the law. And we take that defiant, illogical, absurd position, even knowing that we've made it impossible to detect and therefore prosecute and punish anyone who breaks that law.
But that's not to say that Republicans aren't having their problems. And this, to me, is just not a confidence-inspiring look. The argument that is happening publicly between people like Mike Lee and John Kennedy with Senate Majority Leader Thune somewhere in the middle, arguing over best path forward in pursuit of passage of the Save America Act. And Kennedy, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, has been talking about at least attempting to use budget reconciliation. Let's try all avenues available to us, which Mike Lee has rejected that. And John Thune is weighing it as he tries to corral the cats in his caucus. First, John Kennedy talking about both the DHS shutdown, which is a pending matter, and doesn't seem to be nearing resolution, and then on to the Save America Act.
He's lying. He's lying like fish swim. I mean, here's what's going on. We've had DHS shut down for 38 days, I think. The Democrats at one point voted to fund DHS, and then they backtracked. We've been debating the SAVE Act for, 10 days, I guess. We're stuck. I'm a big believer that when you're stuck, you ought to try to plow around the stump, not through it. So Senator Cruz and I, a few days ago, came up with a two-step process to solve both problems. Step one, we would open up everything at DHS except ICE, including TSA, which the Democrats have already agreed to, and then we would fund ICE through reconciliation, which we could do only with Republican votes. We wouldn't need any Democratic votes. I don't speak for Senator Cruz on this part of it, but I also have suggested that we use the reconciliation process with only Republican votes to pass the SAVE Act. Now, we pitched this to Senator Thune a couple of days ago. He pitched it to President Trump. President Trump, as you know from his tweets, said no. But I talked to Senator Thune last night, and he says the president has reconsidered and may be on board.
But Mike Lee hasn't reconsidered.
There are a lot of things that can be passed through a Senate procedure known as budget reconciliation, through which we can pass things with a simple majority vote. The Save America Act isn't one of those things. It can't pass through budget reconciliation because it's a policy. It is not budgetary. And even if you attach money to it, there are things at the margins we could do to help facilitate compliance with it. But the restrictions themselves have basically zero chance of meeting the standard to pass through budget reconciliation. So look, regardless, there are other reasons out there to do budget reconciliation. Do not be fooled into thinking that we can set down the Save America Act, and just pick it up on budget reconciliation. That's not going to work. Thanks.
And John Thune, somewhere in the middle.
I think that budget reconciliation, as I've said before, you have to have a reason to do it. And if we have reasons to do it, and we may, very well may. And I think there are a number of our colleagues in the Senate. We just came out of a luncheon where this was discussed, and I think there's a lot of support for a budget reconciliation bill. We have two legislative vehicles, as you know, available to us, so we could tee one of those up, and that's an option. And we'll see if that's what it takes to get some of these things across the finish line, and we can do it with simple majorities. We'll take a hard look at that.
You know, it seems to me that this is the sort of stuff that should have been gamed out a long time ago. You know, we may be able to do this. It's possible. We may be able to make the arguments. We may not. The president may be on board. He may not. You know, this, and to the extent that this hasn't been gamed out, it needs to be gamed out and behind closed doors, so you're presenting a unified front, as opposed to creating fissures within those who want to see the Save America Act passed and sent to the president's desk, and now are arguing about procedural strategies. For more on all this and more, Chadwick Moore joins us, New York Times bestselling author of Tucker, the biography of Tucker Carlson, senior reporter for news features at the New York Post, and his Substack is substack.com/@ChadwickMoore. Chadwick, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So take up the sort of Republican side of the ledger on the Save America Act so far, and give me your thoughts on this public debate that I just sort of profiled that's occurring, and how you're processing it and what you think Republicans should be doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. You bring up a great point about doing a closed-door meeting, and if they should have gamed this out beforehand and presenting a unified front. They've had a lot of time to do this. We've been talking about this act for many, many weeks. And it's the lowest poll numbers that I've seen were 70% support for this across all Americans, with over 50% support from Democrats, and some of the polls say as much as 80 or 85% support for this. But the Democrats still are keeping up this myth that it doesn't happen, illegal voting doesn't happen. Yeah, I've reported on this. I've talked to people who've been looking at this issue for decades, and what they all say to me is that the problem of illegals voting in elections is it absolutely happens 100%. It's way worse than the Democrats say it is, but not as bad as many people might think it is. A lot of this comes from people being invited to vote. So, a lot of people might think that the issue of illegal voting is people who just jumped the border yesterday, they're working illegally. It's usually not that. It's usually people who, people like that tend to want to hide under a rock and not be so visible. It tends to be people who've been in the country for a very long time. They may have deportation orders or not. They're residents, but not legal residents, and they sort of get suckered into voting at places like the DMV. So they'll be at the DMV, a pop-up window will say, do you want to register to vote? And they'll say, well, I must be able to. So they will click yes. This is like really where the problem is. Or it's, they're out in a festival, they've had a couple beers, somebody gets in their face with a clipboard, they want to do this person a favor, and, they say, do you want to register to vote? And they'll do it and sign up. So there's not, because of a Supreme Court interpretation of a 1990s law, the Supreme Court case came in 2013, it interpreted that law to say that states don't have to verify your citizenship when they're registering you to vote. It's basically on an honor system with the person who's signing up. Now, these people are incredibly dumb if they're doing this at the DMV, and they probably shouldn't be allowed to vote anyway if they were citizens. But that's really what the problem comes from. And, we did some reporting on this. We found at least a dozen, and there's tons more out there of cases of this happening very recently. Some of these people had been voting in elections illegally since the year 2000, every federal election. And we also found that it spans the political spectrum. We found people voting both Republican and Democrat. What we discovered was that skewed towards Democrat. There were more Democrats voting illegally. People registered as Democrat. So, it does happen. And we're seeing now that even if it's not a huge number of people, we're seeing elections lately that are super close. And every time an illegal casts a vote, that's taking away what we're told is our most sacred right, voting from a true American citizen. We just had an election in Florida for a mayor, and I'm forgetting which town it was, who won by, I think, 5 votes. So, things like that really do matter. And it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a story out yesterday out of Hubbard County, Minnesota. An election judge in Hubbard County pled guilty to allowing 11 unregistered people to vote in the 2024 general election. He was charged with accepting votes from unregistered voters. So we don't know if they're citizens or people here illegally and they just didn't register to vote. But regardless, he didn't carry out the duties required. He let unregistered people vote. Another election judge essentially alerted authorities to this fact, and he pled guilty. So, I mean, there are these sorts of examples that having some basic thresholds to clear that we have in so many other walks of life, as everybody has noted, would prevent. And so, again, unless you're intent on cheating or facilitating those who would, why would what's contained in the SAVE Act bother you?
Yeah, it is something that the Democrats just don't want to give a win. They have to fight whatever comes their way. Or is it also, I mean, it's especially in the neo-Marxist wing of the party, which I think is a majority wing now. It's this mentality of the world, America is open to everyone. We're just, global citizens. Everyone can come in. If you're here, you should be able to vote because you are living here illegally or not. So it gets deeper into their worldview and the direction that they want to see this country go, which is a sort of borderless place where everyone can come as they please.
Speaking of pleading out and doing so in Minnesota, 3 more guilty pleas in the Feeding Our Future scandal, which is, I think, approaching about 80 Somali Americans and other Somalis of dubious dubious status in terms of citizenship. But I want to stick on this, and I think this could be sort of a wild card in the midterms. The need to really ferret out the benefits fraud that is occurring. Yeah, Minnesota is getting a lot of attention, but Nick Shirley is spawning copycats in Washington State and elsewhere too. When all you need to do to unearth benefits fraud is to knock on the doors of those listed as receiving state funds for running a daycare or a hospice or an autism program and so forth. J.D. Vance is going to be front and center here. And I know they just confirmed an associate attorney general that I think is going to be sort of his point person on the Department of Justice side for doing said investigations. This is something which seems to me where Vance and this task force needs to move with real alacrity between now and November.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're just talking about Medicaid and Medicaid fraud, we've been doing a lot of reporting on New York State and looking at New York State has by far the highest Medicaid spend in the country, and it's almost as much as California, despite New York being the 4th most populous state, California being the most populous state. But the more we look into this, it's everywhere. There was just a massive $32 million Medicaid fraud case in Pennsylvania. There's no oversight in any of this. Especially in a lot of these blue states. I think that Minnesota catches a lot of eyes because it seems unexpected. It's centered on one community, but this is really, it's all 50 states. It's everywhere. You look at states also, but you look at like Florida and Texas, which have way more higher population than a place like New York, red states, and their Medicaid spending is like a third. We've covered a lot of this stuff. You're right. All you have to do, and we've done this, is just show up to some of these addresses and knock on doors. One thing about Minnesota, though, that has helped expose this fraud is Minnesota publishes. You can look up by vendor like how much all these places are getting. You can just go to a state website and type in. You see a quality leering center. You can type it up and say, "Wow, that place got $40 million," or whatever the number might be, and go and knock on their door. Other states like New York and a lot of blue states keep that shrouded in secrecy. So they don't allow you to see how much of your taxpayer money is going just to any business that gets money. Some people say that seems intentional. We've tracked down that a lot of groups that benefit from Medicaid program donate, obviously, to powerful Democrat politicians. So there's a move for more transparency in some of these states, but, not very likely to happen.
Since you are the definitive biographer of one Tucker Carlson, I wanted to get your take on a couple of things he said in his sit down with The Economist recently. First, and this is all obviously in context with the military campaign in the Middle East. First on MAGA.
But I know that the core promise of the Trump political movement, Make America Great Again, was America First. And it was articulated by him repeatedly at every campaign stop for 10 years. So everyone in America knows this. I think everyone globally knows this. The core of this movement was the idea that you would, and we could debate about how you do it, but you would try to put the interest of your country at the center of every calculation about how you manage your country and how you interact with the world. It's the single most obvious and single most popular political concept ever devised.
Do you think Donald Trump has betrayed America First?
I think that this war is something that he promised he wouldn't do. Not once, but countless times. And until YouTube is banned, we'll be able to prove that. And the idea behind it is not only contrary to America First, it may be its inverse. There's no argument that changing the regime in Iran helps the United States. And if there is an argument, I'd love to hear it. And by the way, if that argument is sensible and convincing, I will support it. All I care about is the United States.
But then he also said this about China.
We can no longer be the sole author of terms, of commerce, of anything. We have to share power.
With China?
Of course, because of their scale.
So on the one hand, reshaping the Middle East and defenestrating the lead state sponsor of terror in the world that's located in that region is not acting in our interest. That's not America First. But sort of seeding a multipolar world where we come to some sort of power sharing agreement with the Chinese Communist Party is America First.
Well, I guess the America First argument for the Iran war, you could make the argument of something that's keeping, the petrodollar stable. It's making sure that everything that flows through the Strait of Hormuz, all the oil traded there, is still traded in U.S. dollars, which of course is massively economically and politically benefits the United States. But, and I guess it would also be this kind of idea that because the United States was so weak under Biden, and especially in foreign policy with all with wars breaking out in Ukraine, et cetera, that it's a move to sort of shore up reassurance that the United States is still, the peacekeeper of the world, the authority in the world, the person who that other countries can rely upon. And I'm just saying what people in the Trump administration might argue, or people who support the war and also call themselves America First. But Tucker's been pretty consistent on this. As I wrote about in that book, he was very, very horrified by the Iraq War, which he went to in 2000. He went to Iraq in 2002 to report on that. Before that, he was a big cheerleader of the war. Came back, had a kind of heart of darkness experience there, and just felt that we shouldn't be involved in the region at all. That it was a fool's errand, and that's the position that he's stuck with.
Do you see in his public pronouncements on this topic, and including what he just said about what you just heard him say about the Chinese communists, Do you see any move from your discussions with him that informed the biography you wrote?
I don't know. I guess the biggest move, I think that he's doubled down on this. He's really chosen this issue of not getting into these wars. I think that he's always been someone who, as soon as you tell him there's something he's not allowed to say or not allowed to talk about, that is the only thing he wants to say or talk about. And I think that's very much his personality. I think that's why people loved him so much on Fox, and maybe a different crowd loves him so much today. So I don't really see any change in. People always say, like, what happened to him? Where's he gone wrong? And I think he's still sort of the same guy doing the same thing. Maybe a lot of people now just don't like the topic that he's chosen.
Chadwick Moore, New York Times bestselling author of Tucker, the biography of Tucker Carlson, also senior reporter for news features at the New York Post. Chadwick's Substack is substack.com/@ChadwickMoore. Chadwick Moore, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Annie joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. In his new movie, The Dragon's Prophecy, Dinesh D'Souza brings the new Middle East into focus with a message of perseverance, faith, and a shared global destiny.
Could the fate of the world, of humanity itself, be somehow tied to this place?
At long last, we have peace in the Middle East.
Israel and Christians are coming together in a way they have never been before, since the book of Acts.
But is this the end of Hamas and radical Islam? What does the Bible say?
We have to become fighters in the spirit for God. We don't accept what the enemy wants to do with our culture. We don't accept what he wants to do with the nation. If we keep fighting, we win.
Powerful, prophetic, a must-see movie based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. The Dragon's Prophecy combines history and scripture with faith, justice, and renewal. The Dragon's Prophecy, a new film by Dinesh D'Souza. Now available on Amazon, YouTube, and iTunes.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only two good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
AM 560, The Answer.
Historian Neil Ferguson writes, brace yourselves, a recession is coming. We'll challenge Stephen Moore with the argument offered by Neil Ferguson at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 44 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. More details have been released concerning a Chicago man accused of setting a Northside fire that's linked to the death of a local firefighter. A Cook County judge ordered Sheev Slate detained after determining that the defendant was a threat to the community and had a history of setting fires. Slate reportedly dyed his hair and changed his clothes after the fire. Flags across the state are flying at half-mast today through Friday, honoring firefighter Michael Altman, who died as a result of that fire. Some residents in Aurora say a new ordinance passed by the city council last night does little to help their issues. The new regulations call for the strictest of regulations, which will require all new data centers to perform studies on sound emissions as well as water and energy use before development begins. For some residents currently living near data centers, the regulations do nothing to ease their concerns since the ordinance only applies to new data centers and will not affect the constant sound of the generators that they endure every day. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt is pleased with the progress.
Can you imagine? And I'm sure the Iranian Navy was proud of the Iranian Navy. It's all sunk. All of it. Can you imagine what they think about this regime getting into this stupid war because the stupid mullahs wouldn't give up their uranium? They had all these wonderful ships they practiced all these years. They made all that propaganda of it. They're all sunk.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for townhall.com. The essence of parenthood is the right, indeed the duty, to raise children according to one's deepest values. That includes teaching them religion. In Europe, that right is under attack. Since 2022, the Sanson family has been fighting to regain custody of their daughters. The Swedish government took the girls, citing the family's religious faith. The saga began when the oldest daughter, upset about being denied makeup and a smartphone, made a false abuse claim she quickly retracted. The police found no evidence of abuse, but the state took both girls, claiming religious extremism because the family attended church 3 times a week and raised their daughters in a strict religious home. The girls want to go home, but the government plans to put them up for adoption. It's a sobering reminder. Religious liberty should never be taken for granted. I'm Carol Platt-Liebel.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at AmazonBusiness.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Kennedy outbound at Costner Avenue, all because of an accident taking down 3 lanes. Delays start right around Fullerton Avenue, so it's 47 minutes from the Byrne interchange to O'Hare. Inbound is 28, and the express lanes hitting those brakes between North Avenue and Ohio Street on the inbound side. 15 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 31 in, 20 out on the Ike from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 36 minutes inbound, 24 outbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. You've got 17 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 11. This report is sponsored by the Hartford Auto Insurance. Wait until you hear this. You could save hundreds by switching to AARP Auto Insurance from the Hartford. Visit trusthartford.com. The Hartford, your protection is their passion. The Hartford Auto Insurance Inc. pays royalty fees to AARP for the use of its intellectual property. AARP and its affiliates are non-insurers. Savings vary. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sun and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sunshine and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Historian Neil Ferguson writing in the Free Press. Brace yourselves. A recession is coming. This was supposed to be a banner growth year. The war in Iran is choking global energy supply. History shows shocks like this rarely end without a recession, argues Ferguson. He offers a comparison to what happened in the Nixon years after a military aid package to Israel, 73-74. Nixon attempting to tilt the balance of power in the Middle East decisively in Israel's favor following the surprise attack on Israel on Yom Kippur. The retaliation took the form of oil price hikes by Middle Eastern oil producers, culminating in an embargo on oil exports the United States imposed by order of Saudi Arabia's King Faisal. The ultimate effect was to nearly quadruple the price of oil on the world market. And it took Nixon and Kissinger, who had understood this might be possible, but were nonetheless a little flat-footed, more than 4 months to get relief from that embargo. The result was a recession. That's the short version of the story. Now, that comparison is not, perfectly parallel, first and foremost, because the United States is not nearly as reliant on oil from OPEC nations as it was 50 years ago. So that's a big difference. But you still have a quarter of the world's oil supply flow through the Strait of Hormuz. And if it induces the failure to have that flow restart in short order, if it starts to produce lags and negative growth, say in the second quarter in Western Europe, then the nature of our interdependent global economic relations, it's tough to see. I mean, you can see how this could domino if Western European countries go into recession. It's difficult to see, and frankly, Pacific Rim nations go into recession. It's difficult to see how America would not be similarly impacted. But, that's just one scenario. For the optimistic scenario, perhaps. Pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist and author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-author with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, me an optimist? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're the hope, growth, and opportunity guy. So let's give us some hope about growth and opportunity.
So I lived through that in the 70s. I don't know if you lived through period, because you might be a little bit younger than I am.
Yes,
but I remember
barely I did, but I don't really remember it.
Packing up in the station wagon and then being ninth in line at the what was that, the Sinclair station in Glenview, Illinois. But listen, I think that we may well have a recession as a result of this. I'm not a military foreign policy expert, but I've always been a kind of non-interventionist when it comes to the Middle East. And so my preference has always been, let's just stay out of the Middle East and let them fight with each other. But look, I know people have strong opinions one way or the other about that. But when you see, and by the way, I do remember when the price of oil went from like $4 a barrel to like $30 a barrel in, a couple of years. And that just was gut-wrenching for the U.S. economy. I mean, it wasn't just a couple of years, by the way, Dan. The whole period under Nixon, Ford, and Carter was just one big oil disaster. And we never really got out of the recession. And then, as I like to put it, the sun came out, the clouds dispersed, and God gave America Ronald Reagan, and we ended that energy crisis by producing more energy here at home. That's
Right.
what we have to do. And the one piece of good news in this story is that we are much more inoculated from OPEC and the flow of oil from the Middle East than we used to be. But as you said, 25 to 30% of the world's oil still flows through that Straits of Hormuz. And I guess my solution to this is let's just drill, baby, drill, keep producing as much oil as we can. The state in the United States that has the highest gas prices is California. There is no state in the country, maybe other than Texas, that has more oil than California does. So why don't they go after their resources? I'm frustrated by this.
The administration, Trump administration, invoked the Defense Production Acts to get those oil rigs back up and running in the Pacific. Even if California didn't want to your point.
Well, also you have to, Americans, they want their cars to run. We want to be able to fill up. We want to pay $2.50 a gallon, not $5 a gallon. But then they don't want. Well, we don't want to have. We don't like fossil fuels. Oh, okay. Well, we also don't like refineries. Okay, no refineries. Oh, we don't want pipelines. Okay, we don't want LNG terminals. Well, you got to have the infrastructure for the energy to work. And so I get frustrated with some of my liberal friends. Oh, gas is so expensive. Gee, why do you think that is? You haven't allowed us to produce the gas that we have. And so if I sound a little frustrated with this whole situation, I am, because the economy, as you said, Dan, I mean, remember when we were talking at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I predicted a blockbuster economy for 2026. Everything was set up. We were deregulating. We were producing more oil and gas than ever before. We had the big, beautiful tax bill. I mean, everything was going swimmingly. And now I am a little bit worried about a temporary recession. But we will come out of this. Look, at some point within the next 3 to 6 months, hopefully sooner than that, this situation in Iran will be resolved. We'll be out of there, and we'll be back to normalcy.
You don't have to name names, but, some of those economists.
I love naming names.
Okay, well, you talk to a Kevin Hassett, or you talk to other economists that are part of or close to the president, and what do they say about these concerns? What can they say, I suppose?
Well, I think everybody's obviously concerned, including the president, about how the state of the economy, because it is the economy, stupid. It always is, and Republicans have midterm elections coming up. And look, if we haven't seen improvements in the quote affordability crisis, if we keep seeing $4 and $5 a gallon gas, I think Republicans could see historic losses in those midterms. I don't know how you read it there. I know you're in Florida. Did you see the Republicans lost a seat in Florida? Right?
Well, they lost two. They lost two state legislative seats, and obviously one of them was Trump's. The seat that covered Mar-a-Lago. No, I mean, those are some canaries in the coal mine. And let me tell you, just talking about Florida for a second as an example, that complacency sets in. I don't see, like, Byron Donalds, I know is the presumptive successor to Ron DeSantis, and Byron's my congressman, and I like him a lot. But that is not going to be a walk in the park this time, like it was for DeSantis 4 years ago. And you want to see a great story over the last 20 years, which is the state of Florida's surge to, along with Texas, economic dominance on a comparative basis, go by the wayside. Turn the state back over to that neo-Marxist party.
Yeah, and the thing that's scary about this is that Republicans are almost certainly going to lose the House because they only have a 2-seat majority, and usually even in a normal midterm, the out of power party picks up about 20 to 30 seats. But even the Senate is very much in danger, and I agree with you. Even a state like New York, Florida, or Texas, which Texas doesn't have hasn't a single statewide Democrat elected in 30 years or something like that. Everybody's vulnerable to this tide that is coming. Now, by the way, Dan, to change the subject for just a moment, I have a new favorite Democrat. Do you know who that is?
John Fetterman.
Yeah. Fetterman is causing heartache for, and who would have thought? Remember, we thought he was a crazy Democrat.
Well, I know.
He's the one who's making a lot of sense, and he's saying, "Look, I mean, folks, you should be very. I don't know what the lines are like in O'Hare lately at the TSA, but I was in Atlanta. I stood in a 2-hour-long line there, and by the way, I want to make sure people understand that this isn't like by accident. Democrats want you to stand in line. They want you to suffer and stand in line for 2 hours so they can score political points against Trump. And the only Democrat in the entire Congress who will say this is lunatic, this is craziness, we're not serving the people, is John Fetterman, the guy who we thought was brain dead when he came to Congress.
I hear you. I wanted to on this affordability issue, too. It's obviously not just at the pump, and the administration has talked trying to sort of manipulate the housing market to lower prices, which is not a good idea generally, in my view. One idea that they're kicking around now, which I think is another bad idea, is easing credit checks for loans backed by Fannie and Freddie, requiring only a single credit report rather than 3 credit reports. This is at the behest of the Mortgage Bankers Association. I mean, we used to talk about this in the context of Obama's second term. Did you not learn any of the lessons from 08, 09? But now, almost 20 years later, we have to say the same thing, in my view.
If your question is, do we ever learn the lessons from history in Washington? The answer to that is no.
Yeah. So I know the answer to that is no. But this is a bad idea, is it not? This idea of reducing the creditworthiness threshold. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind people, because people maybe repressed this from our memory because it was such a horrific period. But do you know which institution lost the most money? It wasn't Lehman Brothers. It wasn't, all these big firms that went bankrupt. You know which institution needed the biggest bailout?
Fannie Mae.
Fannie Mae. Yeah, Fannie and Freddie. And by the way, there had been a famous Democrat economist literally a year before that who did a famous study for Fannie Mae saying the chances that Fannie Mae would ever need a bailout were 1 in a million. Well, a year later, Fannie Mae needed a bailout. By the way, the people still take that economist seriously. But we're not learning anything. And what we did in the run-up to 2008 is we were just giving mortgages to basically anybody. We weren't checking their we didn't see whether they had down payment money. We didn't check their credit ratings. We just had more and more money to these folks, and it just completely crashed. It didn't just crash the economy temporarily. It took us 5 years to recover from that. And so here we are again with a whole slew of stupid policies, and it's a really it makes me very angry because, and by the way, Fannie and Freddie should have been privatized a long time ago. Yeah. And nobody in Washington wants to do that. And what happens is all these former government officials, the people who are elected to Congress and Senate, they leave and then they go get these sweet paying jobs, $5 million a year jobs at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. It's like a revolving door.
The Big Short Part 2 coming to a theater near you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You don't need. You can remember the stripper who had like 5 mortgages. I think that's what we're going to have under this new policy.
Well, that was not the hope for growth and opportunity I was hoping for from you, but I understand you have to operate on the real world.
Let me end this on a positive note, then, Dan. I do think that in about 3 months we're going to see oil prices back to close to where they were before. This is a bump in the road, hopefully, and we'll be back on our way. The question is whether the bump will be so high, people are still angry come Election Day because it could be a bloodbath if people are still mad at Republicans. But they should be mad at Democrats. They're the ones who are making you stand 2 and 3 hours in line at the airport. So remember, if you're caught in one of those lines in O'Hare, remember who to thank for that.
Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Steve, thanks as always.
Okay, Dan, have a good week.
And Steve joins us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crush
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled or remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up in the next hour at 8 o'clock, 8:08 actually, we'll be talking to Winton Hall. He's Breitbart News Director of Social Media. He has written a new book that's getting a lot of discussion. Code Red, the left, the right, China, and the race to control AI. We'll talk to Winton Hall, Code Red author, at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And then at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, some polling that distinguishes Republicans from neo-Marxists in their worldviews. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
A lot of aggravation at a lot of airports. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, with more long security lines.
About 2.5 hours so far, and it looks like probably another hour or so to go.
He's in Houston.
It's insane.
At Bush International Airport, in the line, Fox's Brooke Taylor reports snakes down to the ground level.
And unfortunately, the line also then goes outside of this terminal and loops around the building before these travelers are allowed back inside.
Because some TSA agents are not showing up. They haven't been paid in a month, and Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni reports the House will hold a hearing on that next hour.
Here's what we're expected to hear from the Deputy Administrator of the TSA. Agents are sleeping in their cars at airports to save gas money, selling their blood and plasma, taking on second and third jobs to make their ends meet.
Homeland Security has been mostly unfunded for 40 days now. Democrats rejected the latest Republican compromise in the Senate.
The plan would have funded all areas of DHS except ICE and certain immigration enforcement. Democrats still insist that DHS ban masks for agents, and they want changes for warrants. It's a stare down.
That's Fox's Chad Burgum at the Capitol. Democrats are touting a special election victory in Florida as earth-shattering. Emily Gregory beat Trump-backed Republican John Maples to win a state House seat representing the district where the president's Mar-a-Lago estate is. The U.S. and Israel keep up the attacks in Iran as more American forces head to the region, and Iran keeps launching missiles into Israel. But Fox's Matt Finn reports from Dubai.
President Trump says the U.S. is holding talks with the powers that be in Iran about a peace deal, although so far Iran denies there's been talks in recent days. And this morning, the Wall Street Journal reports that the United States has sent Iran a 15-point plan to end the war.
Iran is offering to let non-hostile ships move through the Strait of Hormuz after Trump threats to intensify attacks, so oil prices are down more than 4%. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 42 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. We've got mostly cloudy skies today, a slight chance for a passing shower, highs today reaching 67 degrees. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is acknowledging that there were real failures in the nation's immigration system, which led up to the killing of Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman last week here in Chicago. Pritzker says the failures go beyond the borders of Illinois.
There are national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
Jose Medina, a Venezuelan immigrant, was charged with the murder after 18-year-old Gorman was shot and killed last Thursday near the pier at Toby Prince Beach. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security claims Medina was apprehended by U.S. Customs and Border Protection back in 2023 and then released into the country under the Biden administration. ICE agents have been deployed to 11 major airports across the country, including Chicago's O'Hare International. This is to assist weary TSA workers who continue to work without receiving their paychecks. The agents have been tasked with maintaining order due to the long lines at the security checkpoints. President Donald Trump says he's considering sending in National Guard troops to the airports as well until Congress can agree on a proposal to fund Homeland Security. And delivery robots and CTA bus shelters apparently do not mix well. For the second time this week, one of those robots has crashed into a bus shelter, smashing the glass and leaving it scattered on the sidewalk. The robot involved in yesterday's crash was from Coco Robotics. Officials with the company say they're aware of the robot's accident and have launched an investigation as to why it has occurred. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but it's time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Oil prices are lower this morning, trading down more than 5.5%, trading over $87 a barrel. But gas is inching closer to $4 on average. AAA says it's at $3.98. Stock futures are surging. Dow Jones Industrial Futures up more than 500 points. This is all because of renewed hope of a deal to end the conflict in the Middle East after the Trump administration reportedly handed over a 15-point peace plan to Iran. The American dream, it's on hold for many Americans this morning. Mortgage rates hitting their highest levels since October, and that has mortgage demand down more than 10%, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. And Sony and Honda slamming the brakes on a joint venture between the two Japanese companies, the pair discontinuing development and launch of two high-end electric vehicles. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Frank Lanza, invested in you.
Alex Marlow sees good things happening with Cuba.
Cuba is showing huge signs of weakness. The fact that they've already sat down at the table with Trump's people. And so they'll probably have to soften wildly, or else you could see a regime change there. This has been a big thing, and it feels like we've got some real potential to do a lot of good without perhaps firing a single shot.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlow's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
For years, I've talked about Relief Factor. You've heard stories about the people who finally found real relief after trying the 3-week quick start. I'm one of those stories. My pain had become so bad that I was starting to believe that my best days were behind me. This was like 10 years ago. Relief was not in the picture until I tried Relief Factor. They are always striving to help people get out and stay out of pain. And remarkably, Relief Factor has made their already trusted formula even better. They've added premium black pepper extract because apparently that helps your body absorb the high-quality key ingredients more efficiently. So in simple terms, it helps your body get even more benefit from what you're already taking, and that matters. If you're going to take something daily, you want your body actually using as much of it as possible. So if you've been listening to me talk about Relief Factor for a while, this is your moment. Or if you're already taking it, you're now going to get the enhanced formula designed to work even smarter. Start with a 3-week quick start. It's $19.95 at relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. How will it feel to be out of pain? relieffactor.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawk Park Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. What a big mess on the outbound Kennedy with a crash at Costner Avenue involving a car and a truck. 2 right lanes are blocked. There's a debris spill. It is solid all the way back to Augusta Boulevard. It's a 45-minute delay from the Byrne interchange to O'Hare, so a total of 70 minutes. Inbound is 31 minutes. The express lanes inbound slow down between Pulaski Road and Ohio Street. Just 15 both ways on the Edens from Lake Hook to Montrose. 33 in on the Eisenhower. From Wool to the O Post Office. Outbound is 29 with an accident at Austin Boulevard. 36 in, 31 out on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. 16 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sunshine and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sun and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Sean McGuire is a principal at Sequoia Capital, one of the biggest venture capital firms in the world. He's also a PhD in physics. Smart guy. Interesting write-up he provides at his X account on AI. I'm not going to go deep into it because the argument that he makes is not so material, except the top line is. What he writes is that XAI will win. Elon Musk is going to win the AI arms race. Sean McGuire, people are sleeping on Elon again, and especially on XAI. What appears as chaos is actually the whiplash of reprioritization after clearing a bottleneck, such as the abrupt focus on Starlink after making Falcon 9 reliably reusable in 2018. The pattern of chaos is part of an inexorable march to victory. 5 years ago, people thought of Elon as a technologist. Today, after years of pervasive and intense narrative manipulation, he's viewed as a political figure. That impression is wrong. Elon is always trying to find the biggest bottlenecks holding back humanity's technological progress. Sadly, politics became the limiting factor toward making life interplanetary, building humanoid robots and AGI. The entrance into politics was an undesirable but necessary step to push our collective future forward. This article, he writes, goes through the history, and he sort of breaks down the argument of why he thinks Elon is going to win. This may be disappointing as people love controversy, but Elon plus XAI winning doesn't mean other frontier labs will lose. I believe most of them will win as well. The point here is not so much his argument that Elon is going to win this competition, although it's worth a read. I mean, it's really interesting perspective and a well-informed one. The larger discussion for our purposes, context of geopolitics, is it important that Elon wins? Or, what does America winning the AI race look like? Does it have to be Elon? Does it have to be Elon and some of these other, essentially indigenous labs? That's where we'll start with Winton Hall. He is Breitbart News' director of social media and a distinguished fellow at Peter Schweizer's Government Accountability Institute. His new book, which is, as I mentioned before the break, is getting a lot of discussion, is entitled Code Red: The Left, the Right, China, and the Race to Control AI. Winton Hall, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Dan. Thank you.
Just picking up on Sean McGuire's, perspective on Elon Musk, and that's his own independent perspective. He's not representing Sequoia Capital with that prediction. But, now layer on the geopolitics of this. Is it important that Sean McGuire is right and that Elon Musk and other American-based labs win this AI race?
It absolutely is. I think President Trump is exactly right that we have to, beat China, and I say beat China without becoming China. We don't want to live in a world built on Chinese AI rails, and the reason is twofold, right? One is economic, which you're already, alluding to. 1/3 of the S&P 500 is constituted around that Mag 7, the Magnificent 7, the 7 largest tech firms, and that's obviously largely an AI tentpole. So the economic upswing there, but when we saw what happened with the DeepSeek R1 release, when China's DeepSeek rocked NVIDIA for $600 billion one-day, largest market cap loss we've ever seen in a one-day wipeout. So you see that tug of war on the economic side, right? And I think we understand the economic benefits and boom of the AI race and revolution, however you want to frame that, are real, and they're going to continue to be. I mean, we're looking at in the next 2 years, $5 trillion with a T dollars of investment. So, if you want to know where the puck is going, you look where the money's flowing. So that's the first part. But I think the part that most Americans who, care about our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine, our special forces, they really are looking at that from a military perspective and understanding why winning the AI race is essential. And I think it comes down to this. If you look at what defense tech and intel in the military talk around this artificial intelligence space. Whoever gains dominance, whether you're talking about recursive self-improvement, RSI, meaning where the code actually updates and improves itself, or even before that, you're going to have massive full-spectrum battlefield dominance in things like encryption, cybersecurity, certainly in hacking, whether it's missile systems or even infrastructure, right? And so none of us want to live in a techno-authoritarian surveillance state. The goal is not to emulate, Xi Jinping, but to understand that they have had a very, very real and determined plan since 2017 to dominate by 2030. And that's why this AI race is heating up with, like you said, Elon and as well as all the other American enterprise labs racing.
So you mentioned NVIDIA. I just wanted to get your reaction to something that Senator Elizabeth Warren posted when it was announced that last week that NVIDIA is firing up manufacturing of its H200 AI accelerators for customers in China. She writes, Trump signed off on NVIDIA's plan to divert advanced chips to China. That'll drive prices of laptops and smartphones even higher and help China overtake us in AI. Big tech in China win, the rest of us lose. But the one of the problems with Elizabeth Warren's pronouncements is the microchips in question are actually not used in laptops and smartphones. So there's that. But that's a slight problem. But I mean the larger idea, the larger idea that if should we be trying to restrict the flow of commerce in this race to prevent China from getting access to, for example, maybe more sensitive chips that NVIDIA produces?
Yes, for sure. And even, the Trump administration has said, and this is actually a pretty bipartisan thing, the issue around export chip controls for the advanced chips. The H200s are obviously a lower level chip, but when you're talking about, the Blackwell chips, the Vera Rubin chips, the bleeding edge chips, or even things that are yet to come, there is pretty widespread agreement that we need to have that choke point, that economic choke point where you think of it like a water hose and you're squeezing the middle for the water to cinch off, so that we have that lead as we continue in this AI race with China. And the president's been clear about that. The administration's been clear about that. This battle over the H200s, is important, and it has been a contentious issue. But you're exactly right. She needs to get her facts right about the specifics on it. And I think it's important for everybody, even if you're not in these sort of circles or this isn't really your area of focus. I think Americans in general need to understand that whole issue of choke points, because there really aren't that many, right? I mean, this is one of them, and I think it's a central one, and especially since it has national security implications, we should really focus on it. But the Vera Rubins and the Blackwells are not part of that.
How do you view this spat that occurred between Anthropic and the Trump administration effectively? What does that say about the debates that are going on that seem to be implicated in that spat that you were just talking about, like the surveillance state?
No, it's really important, right? So this is a precedent-setting moment. There's, I think, no question, President Trump, Vice President Vance, people like Emil Michael, they're absolutely right that the commander-in-chief ultimately has to have final authority about how we do or don't deploy, weapons. The other issue, though, is that the language is really important. The devil is in the details. The language was very clear in this $200 million deal with Dario at Anthropic, his company, that this was for all lawful purposes, right? And so when you're talking about the precluding things like mass surveillance and autonomous weapons, first of all, autonomous weapons are legal. Second of all, the Fourth Amendment as it relates to mass surveillance. So this was really a battle over that, the interpretation of it and how that would play out. Because the one thing you can't have, and this is why you heard so many come forward on this, is that downstream, and not even with Anthropic, just choose any vendor. If you have a vendor to the Defense Department or the War Department, and they then have guardrails either baked in or they then make them proactively based upon their terms of service as opposed to the terms on the battlefield, you're literally having a battle where the vendor, the corporate vendor, can either challenge or negate or interfere with the commander-in-chief's order as it relates to battlefield command. So these are really important precedent-setting issues, and I'm actually really glad that people are focused on this because I think it's been a long time in coming, and I think there's a lot of misinformation around understanding autonomous weapons. We have such visions from these, movies and Terminator, and those things are very, very real. I mean, alignment, safety, security, those things are essential, and I think we have to take them seriously. At the same time, we have to understand autonomous weapons have been around for a long time. It really depends on how you define those terms.
So there seems to be some variance among all of those in this space, some of those at least in this space, in terms of how much government regulation, government parameter setting they would like to see done to their industry, where Anthropic and OpenAI seem to be like more aggressively courting federal government regulation here, and some other companies less so. Can you explain what some of those differences of opinion are and the implications?
That's a great question, Dan. So, yes, there's a wide range of the Frontier Labs positions on regulation. And the question is that regulatory capture posturing? In other words, are they trying to box out little tech and startups with capturing through that regulation? And so if you go back, there's a really great speech that everybody should go back and read from Vice President Vance in 2025, and it was his Paris AI Action Summit or his AI Summit speech. And I really think it's actually a very historically relevant. It's going to be very relevant. He talks about this. He says, "Look, we think that we have to have safety regulations and we have to have common sense regulations. At the same time, we do not want to hamstring innovation to the point where we are crippling our ability to prosper and to innovate technologically and wealth." But then he says that we know that a lot of times we hear from large entrants, oh, we've got to embrace all these regulations because they can afford, as you know, Dan, they can afford to swallow that regulatory cost, whereas the little guy or little startups, they can't. So there is this big tug of war. The other thing is over state regulation versus federal regulation. And this you just recently saw just a few days ago, the federal framework that the Trump administration put out where they want to preempt state regulation. And this is a very contentious battle between the states and the federal government. Obviously, states' rights and federal powers have been at odds for a long time. But we're going to see that one play out as well on this topic you're talking about.
What about the concern, since we're still, my rudimentary understanding, we're still sort of in the large language model phase of where AI is. And so because some of what's been proposed as around the corner, the humanoids and this sort of thing, has taken over the debate. I think it's not as pronounced as it was maybe a year ago. But it seems to me there's still real concern about what they produce when it comes to political or politicized content. The idea that they're going to be propaganda arms for the left in particular, since many of these AI companies are run by men of the left, maybe arguably all of them not named Elon Musk. And so how much is that still a concern or something that is debated internally about the kind of content that is returned when people use AI for research or as a writing aid or what have you?
Mm-hmm. It's a huge issue, Dan, and I'm really glad you brought it up. So the first chapter in Code Red is actually on this, the hidden hand of persuasion in AI and woke AI. Just as we were starting, the first week of this book launch, at Breitbart, we released this Code Red study that I did on this topic. It set off a firestorm among U.S. senators. I asked Google Gemini Deep Research, their most advanced reasoning model, to survey the current 100 U.S. senators and assess whether or not their public statements have violated their, quote, hate speech policy, end quote. Dan, you're going to be shocked. I know you'll be shocked. It was 7 Republican senators are bigots, according to Google Gemini, and have violated their hate speech policy, and 0 Democrats.
Wow. That's great.
I know that's breaking news. Now, here's what's even more alarming about it. On top of that, the model hallucinated or was confused and still thought that current senators for Republicans included J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, who are now the Vice President, Secretary of State. So it's not just the woke AI bias; it's also misinformation on top. But this was not just a casual, chat response. This was a 3,400-word granular piece of research writing in their deep research model. This came back with the sourcing, and what were the sources that it used to create such a finding? Things like the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC,
right.
Human Rights Watch, Wikipedia, GLAAD, a host of left-leaning, sources. And then Senator Rick Scott, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Senator Tom Cotton came out and responded to this Code Red, response, and they were horrified. And the reason why I think is this, and this is really important. Look, you have a right to create a biased product in this country if you want. That's your right. We believe in free market capitalism. As long as it's not against the law, fine. Where we have a problem, and I think, Dan, certainly your listeners will know, is that Google receives billions of taxpayer dollars in the form of procurements, cloud contracts, computing contracts, all throughout the federal government. And so the president's AI plan said, if you engage in ideologically biased AI, fine, that's your right, but you should not be bagging taxpayer dollars while you're anathematizing the values of half the nation. And that's why we've got to get ready, and we really have to understand the left and these big tech labs. Many of them are not only not our friend, but they're playing a 5D chess game here, and they're making money, and they're using woke AI at the same time.
Yeah, right. Well, as Abraham Lincoln famously said, you can't believe everything you read on the internet, and man, we're gonna have to include that with AI too. Now, I mean, but this is the thing. It seems to me the problem we had during the Biden administration that the Supreme Court essentially punted on in the Murthy v. Missouri case is these big social media platforms acting as a cutout for the government to censor. To impose censorship on Americans through the platforms they control that the government couldn't legitimately do. So, and with AI, it seems to me that just gets exponentially amped up potentially.
You're absolutely right. It's on steroids. Scan and ban technology is what the sort of shorthand is. And then it becomes a game of definition. We saw what these self-appointed, supranational, West-like, sort of World Economic Forum style or UN-style international groups like the Global Disinformation Index. They set up these organizations. They appoint themselves the free speech hall monitor. And then what they do is they smear and trash right up center, voices like whether they are online or as news publishers or other formats as hate speech, misinformation. Then they censor, ping, wink, and nod over to the ad networks, which are controlled largely by left-leaning Silicon Valley forces, and they say, "Oh gosh, you know what? You've been deemed hate speech. We can't allow you to have ad units on your, website or whatever platform." And that's how they demonetize these, delist and muzzle conservative or right-leaning voices. It's a real serious problem, and it's only going to get worse if and when you see, as you said, Biden-era forces and so forth come back into power. This is as good as it's going to get for conservatives because they have Republicans have the White House, they have the House, the Senate. If and when that pendulum swings back, it will swing back hard.
Well, so if that's true, then how do you sort of prioritize the threats here? Is the greatest threat to America in the AI period America? What we'll do to ourselves or what China could do to us?
Oh, I think it's a multi-front war for sure, and we've got a lot of threat vectors, and that's why each of the chapters in Code Red, I actually go through everything. I talk about here are the threat vectors of opportunity and peril as it relates to education, jobs, national security, terrorism, just go down the list, human relationships, even faith and reason in God. So all of those areas are going to have a whole new matrix. And we have to understand that, when you say policy issues, like abortion or taxes or national security, conservatives have known where those break, right? But when you say AI, it's a jump ball, and that's why we got to get ready and coached up, and that's really why I wrote the book.
Winton Hall is Breitbart News Director of Social Media. He's a distinguished fellow at Peter Schweizer's Government Accountability Institute. And the book we've been discussing, pick it up, Code Red, The Left, the Right, China, and the Race to Control AI. Code Red is the book. Winton Hall is the author. Win, thanks so much. Great conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it greatly.
And he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, how Americans see the state of the world, the chasm between the right and the left. Very telling because it informs how you process policy choices. We'll discuss 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 44 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A federal judge is ordering the U.S. Department of Transportation to resume funding for the Chicago Transit Authority's Red Line extension as well as other projects. The court granted the CTA a temporary restraining order, ruling that the suspension of federal funding was impermissible. The CTA filed a lawsuit last Friday seeking to end the funding pause and restore the agency's access to federal funding. The feds must resume payments by Friday at 10 a.m. A high-profile member of Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration is stepping down. Human Relations Commissioner Nancy Andrade is resigning. She's held that position since 2021. She says she's resigning to uphold the commission's efforts to give hope to those who have experienced the humiliation and trauma of discrimination. Her resignation comes after Johnson fired his deputy for public safety last week. And a major construction project is underway on the Bishop Ford Expressway on Chicago's far south side. There will be several lane and ramp closures. Construction is expected to cause traffic delays over the next several months. This report report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher tries to keep it civil.
Is this battle about Israel, and that's what it seems to be about, representative of what's going on within the Republican Party, sort of writ large? That's another tricky part of this. I don't know the answer to that. I would like to think that every one of these podcasters who are currently at war with each other are on the same team.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
My name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-founder of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Virago has earned its place in your medicine cabinet. It's your proven go-to for the flu, colds, and COVID. But you already know that part of the story. But today I want to tell you that if you're suffering from diabetes, hypertension, or autoimmune diseases, we want you to know that they share one common thread. They are inflammation machines. And that inflammation assaults your heart, your brain, and your kidneys 24/7. It's a silent, constant attack on your vital organs, wearing them down every single day. Taking Virago every day shields your heart, protects your kidneys, and guards your brain from chronic inflammation. Virago, the new protective standard in immunity.
Order your bottle of Virago online today at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
If your investments are in a 401k or an IRA, then listen carefully. You spent 30, maybe 40 years building your retirement. The question is, are you about to watch it take a hit you can't recover from? Military escalation in Iran, tariffs and legal chaos, the U.S. dollar under pressure it hasn't seen in years. History is clear. When this much uncertainty hits at once, the investors who moved into gold and silver first came out ahead. Right now, Advantage Gold is offering a free gold investment kit and a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's powerful new book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Thousands of Americans have already rolled over a portion of their 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver, completely tax and penalty free through Advantage Gold. Don't wait for the next surge to wish you had moved sooner. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Big mess on the outbound Kennedy. It's over an hour to get from the Byrne interchange to O'Hare, all because of a collision taking down two right lanes at Costner Avenue. The delays begin right around Ohio Street. Inbound, it's 30 minutes from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange. The express lanes inbound also slow down between Belmont Avenue and Ohio Street. 15 both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. 25 in, 29 out on the Ike from Wolf to the old post office. The Stevenson is 32 minutes inbound from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 29. 15 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Byrne interchange. Jam-packed northbound Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. This report is sponsored by Text Now. Other wireless carriers tell you when to pay. Text Now asks, what do you need? It's app-first phone service without commitments, credit checks, or a carrier attitude. Built for people who stop asking for permission. Download today. Chicago's Morning Answer continues now next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be warmer with a mix of sun and clouds, reaching a high of 69. Tonight will be clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, expect a blend of sunshine and clouds in the morning, turning breezy with a chance of showers and a heavy thunderstorm later on. Thunderstorms may bring hail with a high of 70. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, as the eminent economist Thomas Sowell, as he observed, I'm paraphrasing here, if you want to understand the conclusions people draw, you have to examine the premises from where they start. That speaks to this survey research per an Economist YouGov poll that was conducted among 1,665 U.S. adult citizens a few days ago. I'll put this question to you in the listening audience. Which comes closer to your view? View number one. Our lives are threatened by terrorists, criminals, and illegal immigrants, and our priority should be to protect ourselves. Or number two. It's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people, and we must find a way to embrace each other and not allow ourselves to become isolated. Number one, number two. Which is clear? Number one, number two. I feel like I'm an optometrist. Our lives are threatened by terrorists, criminals, and illegal immigrants. Our priority should be to protect ourselves, number one. Or number two, it's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people, and we must find a way to embrace each other and not allow ourselves to become isolated. 312-642-5600 to give us a call or text. There is a significant divide by party identification as to choice number one or choice number two. And so that implicates all sorts of other policy views and even views about, America's future as a going concern, frankly. Another question included in the survey I thought was telling is whether or not people, the respondents, thought the U.S. should be the dominant power in the Western Hemisphere. Dominant power in the Western Hemisphere. The divide by party identification is equally wide. Does that matter? Well, sure it matters. I mean, the first question, view one or view two, speaks to, it's a couple things, and I quibble with some of the wording here because one is presented as sort of particularly cynical and fear-based, and the other is presented as sort of open-minded to the point of naivete. So they're both, and that's sort of the point, is to really try to push you in one direction or the other. I get it. I would probably word those things a little bit differently, but, it's a rough measure. It's a rough indicator of where you're coming from in terms of your view about mankind. It sort of starts from the premise of whether you think man is inherently good or inherently evil. And that has real implications in terms of how you view goings-on here and the sorts of policies you will support or oppose. I also think it speaks to those scratching their heads about how maybe within your contact circles, how otherwise reasonable people can be so dismissive about the violence and exploitation that is being platformed by these open borders, decarceration, non-prosecution, defund police, abolish ICE individuals. How they can sort of quickly rush by Sheridan Gorman's murder or Katie Abraham's killing and say, it's terrible what happened, but, and the but comes quickly. We got to move on from that. Don't want to dwell on that. Kevin, Austin, Texas, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I think it's a false choice, as you were kind of alluding to. I think it's a little bit of both. We live in a dangerous world, so you want to surround yourself with good people of good faith, good people. And I got a quote for you from Milton Friedman. It's nice to the Thomas Sowell thing. It's nice to elect the right people, but that's not the way you solve things. The way you solve things is
getting
by
the wrong people to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way to do that, to go to I was listening to you earlier in the morning when you had that father on, and that was gut-wrenching, listening to him. And, people got to get involved, and they can do it now, precinct level. They have precinct conventions coming up. That's how you can change things. That's how you can make things better in Illinois.
Thanks for the call, Kevin. Well, it's interesting. You err on the side of cynicism, you err on the side of naivete. That's basically the choice in these two views. Our lives are threatened by terrorists, criminals, and illegal immigrants, and our priority should be to protect ourselves. Or it's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people. We must find a way to embrace each other and not allow ourselves to become isolated. Overall population, as surveyed, 48-37. It's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people. Democrats, self-identified Dems, 74-13. Big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people. Republicans, 66-24. Our lives are threatened by terrorists, criminals, and illegal immigrants. This is interesting, too. MAGA Republicans versus non-Republicans, breaking that down. MAGA Republicans, 75-21. Our lives are threatened by terrorists, criminals, and illegal immigrants. Priority to protect ourselves. Non-MAGA, 22-point difference, 53-32 in that direction. And, of course, you're talking to somebody who agrees with Sartre, generally speaking, that hell is other people. So I'm definitely not going to be, it's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people. It is a big, beautiful world. God made it. But it's, and God made the people, too. But, since we're all sinners, that sort of speaks to the mostly full of good people. It's just not. I don't know. It's not. But understand that naivete and that idea that people are sort of inherently good. Naivete is probably too generous. It's really more sort of sentimentality. It's sort of that buy the world a Coke and a smile that leads people down that primrose path to policies like open borders, to being completely unable to distinguish between, or completely unwilling to distinguish between a United States citizen or somebody who comes to this country or enters this country illegally in terms of rights, benefits. Because that same cohort doesn't want America to even be the dominant country in the Western Hemisphere. Root against the home team. Frank, Board of Trade.
Yeah, a few years ago, I called a woman I went to high school with. I spent about 30 minutes on the phone with her, trying to explain to her why jails were necessary. She couldn't comprehend it. She lives on an island in Puget Sound, so metaphorically speaking, she's somewhat detached from the way the world works.
Literally and metaphorically, yes, right. Thanks for the call, Frank. Nothing like isolating yourself while taking the position that it's a big, beautiful world, mostly full of good people, and that's why I have a guardhouse and walls and live in an enclave. Yeah, right. Well, there's a lot of that, too. There's a lot of sort of the beautiful lies you tell yourself that run fairly counter to how you actually live your life. This is the Charles Murray formulation in Coming Apart, right? The wealthy don't preach what they practice. They practice, industriousness and personal responsibility and Protestant work ethic and Max Weber in the Max Weberian sense, and family. But then they preach all this, leftist claptrap that directly leads to societal disintegration and the loss of civic virtue, which is why the premise you're starting from matters so much. I mean, this is sort of on display a little bit, just sort of a real-world example to play this out. Chris Hahn is an obnoxious podcaster, and he's a former Pagliacci Schumer chief of staff, I believe. He was on with Katie Pavlich on News Nation yesterday talking about Sheridan Gorman, her murder. And this is how that went. Now, think about these interactions, two people starting probably from, something approximating those two different places as highlighted in this survey.
And I feel for the family here, but to boil this down into immigration policy is wrong. It's law enforcement policy. It's too many guns in this world. Why are we not talking about that?
Well, do you think this guy went through a background check? Let's talk about it.
Let's go to whatever it is that makes Trump okay and talk about his immigration policy.
I didn't mention Trump.
The fact of the matter is, the fact of the matter is, Katie, is that this is a horrible situation. It should not be politicized. And I think that everybody should join hands and say, look, this family deserved better, whether they were failed by Chicago, whether they were failed by our immigration system. They were failed, and hopefully they get justice.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. There's no such thing as individual accountability. It's, it was a failure of the system. This family deserved better. Let's come together. Let's not politicize it, which just means to not explore the different choices we could make and the consequences from those different choices. That's too ugly. People are, mostly good. Most illegal immigrants don't commit crimes other than being here illegally, which is not a crime. It's an administrative violation or whatever, line of dismissive agitprop they offer. And, let's talk about the real issues. Verlon, Michigan.
A famous quote before Rome fell: a great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the call, Verlon. Greg LaGrange.
Hey, how you doing, Dan? I get sick and tired of hearing about how AI is going to take over the education and the morale direction of our country, especially since it's going to be programmed by men who everybody seems to be wanting to run away, men and women that they're trying to run away as being the deciders because they're biased. There's always going to be bias. You're never going to have a reasoning and an AI with conscience. Not in my lifetime. It's just not possible. And the other thing about what you're talking about that horrendous murder, I listened to you yesterday, and it's just sickening. And it's amazing how much we have to get pounded across the head with a cudgel on this. People don't understand what a country is about when they live by their emotions. They're completely detached from reality. They're afraid to speak. That COVID proved one thing, Dan, and I'll say this until I go to my grave. When the politicians saw that parents will put masks on their kids, they knew they had society as a whole, because they knew that the people that they were ruling over would do anything just to comply. And that's where we're at in this country, and especially in Illinois, because what you see now happening, where the governor wouldn't even turn over this, if he's proven guilty, criminal in this murder, is abhorrible. It's abhorrible.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Don't forget, Sheridan Gorman's killer is a sanctuary state twofer, public safety threat and a public health threat. Still battling tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. One other piece to this survey I'm mentioning in terms of the divide. Our lives are threatened versus big, beautiful world. You know, people are mostly good. People are mostly not so good, and we need to protect ourselves. College versus non-college. College graduates, 60 to 29. Big, beautiful world full of good people. Non-college graduates, 41, 42. Yeah, people who are sort of oriented to live in the real world as opposed to having their heads filled with sort of woozy, dreamy, sentimental blather, which you get at most colleges, universities these days.
I'd like to turn off.
Dawn in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, this is why it's important for people to know Scripture for themselves so they understand. But in John, the book of John, Jesus said in the second chapter, he said that he did not entrust himself to many. He entrusted himself to few, for he knew what was in people's hearts. He did not need testimony about man. That is why God constantly had to tell people to learn to do what is right, to seek justice. You have to defend the widow. You have to defend the orphan, because God knows the people who seek power are not going to do that. The people that seek power always hurt the most vulnerable, especially the disabled community. So you cannot trust people. You trust God, because God is the only one who loves you and wants the best for you, not people. So you know how you know people? By their fruit. That's what God said. Do they produce love? Do they produce goodness? It's not about politics. It's always two categories, good and evil. And God's way always produces human flourishing. That's how you know the difference. Thanks, Dan.
Very good, Dawn. Thank you. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
For 25 years, Applied Mechanical Sales has kept Chicago's commercial buildings warm and running smoothly. From schools and churches to high-rises and hotels, they provide the boilers, water heaters, and exhaust systems that contractors and engineers count on. Whether it's a replacement project or a new construction, Applied Mechanical helps you select the right equipment, standard or high efficiency, for your specific application. What sets them apart? They match the right Camas equipment to your building's exact needs, so it performs flawlessly through Chicago winters for the next 15 to 20 years. And they don't disappear after installation. Applied Mechanical ensures your systems run at peak efficiency year after year. Are you a degreed mechanical engineer looking to lead a growing sales team? They'd love to talk to you. Schedule a site visit and boiler assessment at appliedmechanicalsales.com. That's appliedmechanicalsales.com.
Raise your hand if chronic pain is making you feel old. And if you can't raise your hand, that's probably a tell, too. Older than you actually are. Ongoing pain can really turn your golden years upside down. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics patients right here in Chicagoland are getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed. And it didn't happen in an operating room. I know this because I've met some of the patients. Dr. Caravelli and QC Kinetics medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science. Treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body and concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon. Patrick's golf game is on fire again, and Andrea's back in her garden. These are real QC Kinetics patients. The sooner you start, the sooner inflammation and pain eases, and the sooner joint damage slows down. So don't wait. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments and tell them I sent you when you do. Your visit and consultation are free. Call now 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Weston Hasselus, how many matches right now?
Beg your pardon?
I can't believe another night on that mattress. This is driving me crazy.
Whoa, you're talking way too low. It reminds me of the way too low prices on Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and more at Hasselus Mattress.
Are they really low?
You're probably asking, how low? Check out the Beauty Sleep by Beauty Rest Queen Aspen Cove B Hybrid. Others sell it for $1,015, but Hasselus has it for just $846. Maybe you're inquiring about a free box spring with the purchase of any Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress for a limited time, or take an equal amount off an adjustable base. I assume you're asking whether Hasselus Mattress has employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery, setup and removal of your old mattress, and free financing.
Huh?
Yes, we do.
Holy cow!
See? People are talking about Hasselus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, thanks for joining us on another installment of Chicago's Morning Answer. Be back tomorrow at 5 a.m. with more. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Iran will not accept a ceasefire. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what state media is reporting now, that Iran's received a U.S. proposal to end the conflict now in day 26 as President Trump insists they want to make a deal.
Now officials here are floating a 15-point peace plan to end the war once and for all.
Fox's Peter Ducey's at the White House.
Part of the group that created all these problems in Iran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, has a spokesman saying about these negotiations, have your internal conflicts reached the point where you are negotiating